Chapter 45. Everything was unknown. Qin Sheng woke up early in the morning, ready to start a new life. Who knew that he would bump into Ms. Chong Sam first, and then her weird nephew? He had been delayed for so long, how could he not complain? But who knew that Ms. Chong Sam would appear just as he was complaining? Qin Sheng had many strengths, one of which was a good memory. Hearing this coquettish voice, he only had 4 words in his mind. What a coincidence, did he not check the almanac before going out? Yuan Hua knew Ms. Chong Sam. Obviously, Qin Sheng guessed correctly. Ms. Chong Sam was a member of Shangshan Ruoshui. As an employee who was about to enter Shangshan Ruoshui, Qin Sheng did not dare to offend her. His face changed from gloomy to joyful. He turned around with a cheeky smile and said, "Miss Xue, I've done what you asked me to do. I've brought Xue Hao here." Ms. Chong Sam walked slowly towards Qin Sheng with elegant step. She stared at Qin Sheng coldly and said, "Thank you, but you have to explain what happened to you first." Xue Hao, who was standing at the side, was gloating at Qin Sheng's misfortune. He had been suppressed by Qin Sheng earlier. Not only did he mock him, he was also kicked. He thought that Qin Sheng was a tough guy, but he was still a coward in front of his aunt. "Oh, the traffic was too bad. I should have come back earlier, so I was delayed for so long. I was afraid that you would be angry." Qin Sheng thought quickly and came up with an excuse. Yuan Hua was only the assistant security manager, and could not say anything in front of Ms. Chong Sam. Ms. Chong Sam was one of the 6 VVIP members. He wanted to help Qin Sheng, but he could not. This explanation was reasonable, but Qin Sheng did not help on purpose this morning, so Ms. Chong Sam wanted to tease him. But before she could say anything, the person in charge of Shangshan Ruoshui, Su Lanqing, came out and said calmly, "Qin Yan, do you know Qin Sheng?" Yuan Hua said respectfully, "Manager Su." Su Lanqing waved his hand and gestured for Yuan Hua to go about his business. Yuan Hua looked at Qin Sheng calmly, smiled and nodded before leaving. "Sort of, Miss Chong Sam," Xue Qinyan said with her eyes narrowed. Qin Sheng's name was ordinary, and his appearance was also ordinary. Xue Qinyan instantly lost interest in him. At this moment, Qin Sheng's interest was no longer on Miss Chong Sam, but the person in charge of Shangshan Ruoshui, Su Lanqing. He was in his 40s, with short hair, a square face, angular features, deep eyes, and a well-proportioned figure. He was not as fat as most middle-aged men. Judging from his figure, he should be working out regularly. Otherwise, he could be a model if he wore this branded suit. "Manager Su," Qin Sheng greeted him with a nod. Su Lanqing just smiled. His attention was still on Xue Qinyan. Facing every member of Shangshan Ruoshui, Su Lanqing would be respectful and conscientious. He would never be arrogant and only treated himself as a butler, serving every member. Otherwise, Jiang Xianbang would not put him in such an important position. "Xue Hao, what happened to you?" Xue Qinyan pointed at the scratch on Xue Hao's face and asked. She then turned to look at Qin Sheng. Xue Hao smiled cheekily and explained, "It's nothing. I fell down when I was playing with a classmate and got some scratches." "Really?" Xue Qinyan said doubtfully. However, Xue Hao rarely caused trouble. Although he had a bad relationship with his family, he was obedient in school and had good grades. Today was his birthday. His father had gone to Beijing for a meeting and his mother had gone to Hong Kong for a business trip, leaving him alone. Xue Qinyan had asked Qin Sheng to pick him up to celebrate his birthday together. Xue Hao held Xue Qinyan's arm and said, "Aunt, when have I ever lied to you?" Qin Sheng, take how to treat his wound. Don't let it get infected. Su Lanqing had already noticed the arrival of the guests outside. He immediately told Qin Sheng to take Xue Hao away with this excuse. Xue Qinyan also understood what Su Lanqing meant. She said softly, "Go and treat your wound first. I'll come to you later." "Let's go." Xue Hao shouted at Qin Sheng proudly. Qin Shing had no temper and could only follow him dejectedly. Outside Shangshan Ruoshui, an old man in his 70s or 80s was staggering in. Su Lanqing and Xue Qinyan quickly went out to greet him. They did not dare to be negligent. Jiang Xianbang would also come later. Qin Shing did not know where to go. After asking an artist, he found out that Shangshan Ruoshui addressed the female waiters as artists and the male waiters as child. This was quite interesting. Qin Shing did not know this yet. If he knew, he would definitely curse at Jiang Xianbang. "Hey, didn't you say you were not an employee here? So you were fooling me. I thought you were very capable." Xue Hao, who was full of vitality, started to fight back. Qin Shing stared at him and said, "Believe it or not, I will beat you up. To be honest, I really don't believe it. Try and touch my finger." Xue Hao, who had his aunt's support, retorted confidently. This bastard had grown up. Qin Shing could only change the topic and said, "Do you still want me to avenge you?" "Yes." This was Xue Hao's sore spot. He did not want his family to get involved, but this matter had to be solved. Otherwise, he would be bullied in school. "Then shut up," Qin Shing shouted angrily. This time, Xue Hao admitted defeat. He obediently shut up and followed Qin Shing to the first floor to reduce the inflammation and put on a band-aid. After a busy morning, Qin Shing and Xue Hao were hungry. They went to the staff cafeteria for lunch. The food in Shangshan Ruoshui was really good. It was a buffet mode and had everything, similar to a 5-star hotel. After a full meal, an artist ran down and said, "Mr. Qin, Manager Su wants you to bring Master Xue upstairs." When Qin Shing brought Xue Hao to the private room on the second floor, Xue Qinyan and Manager Su were chatting happily. Xue Qinyan smiled and said, "Brother Su, I'll make a move first. Take care of the rest." "Qinyan, don't worry. I will arrange everything in the afternoon. Moreover, Brother Jiang is here," Su Lanqing replied politely. Xue Qinyan got up and said softly, "That's good. Hao, let's go." Xue Qinyan took her bag and pulled Xue Hao to leave. She ignored Qin Shing. Su Lanqing had already explained that Qin Shing was just an employee who had not joined Shangshan Ruoshui yet. No wonder she did not know him. She would not care about an ordinary employee. Xue Hao turned back and whispered to Qin Shing, "Don't forget about us. Call me later." Su Lanqing asked Qin Shing to wait in the room while he personally sent Xue Qinyan off. He would not neglect any member of Shangshan Ruoshui. He remembered every member's habits and hobbies. He would never miss the greetings and gifts during the new year. Finally, after sending off the aunt and nephew, Qin Shing let out a long sigh of relief and looked at the layout of this private room. The style of this private room was different from the one he stayed in the morning. This private room was bigger and there was a tea table for 6 people in the center. A few minutes later, the door was pushed open. The absolute girl killer, Su Lanqing, was back. This kind of successful middle-aged man was fatal to girls in their 20s and 30s. Su Lanqing was definitely more charming than Jiang Xianbang. "Manager Su." Qin Shing came back to his senses and politely greeted him again. Since the opening of Shangshan Ruoshui, Su Lanqing had been in charge of everything. Jiang Xianbang had never interfered with human affairs. This was the first time that Jiang Xianbang had arranged for an outsider to enter. Su Lanqing would not think that Jiang Xianbang did not trust him. Otherwise, he would have interfered long ago and would not have arranged for such a young man. Therefore, Su Lanqing believed that the relationship between Qin Shing and Jiang Xianbang was not simple. "Qin Shing, there is no outsider here. You don't have to be so polite. Just call me Brother Su." After confirming the former point, Su Lanqing also knew how to get along with Qin Shing. He must not treat him as a superior and subordinate. Qin Shing was not modest and said, "Then I will listen to Brother Su. Don't just stand there. Sit down and talk," Su Lanqing said casually. Qin Shing waited for him to sit down before sitting next to him. Qin Shing, Brother Jiang has told you everything about you. I guess you already know about Shangshan Ruoshui. You know what kind of place it is. Brother Jiang must trust you for letting you come here. But do you have any requirements for this job? Just tell me, Su Lanqing said with a smile. There was tea on the table, and he took the initiative to pour a cup for Qin Shing. Qin Shing took the cup and thanked him softly. Then he said slowly, Brother Su, I don't have any requirements. I am a young man and I want to learn well. I mainly want to start from the bottom. Start from the bottom? Let me think, Su Lanqing said thoughtfully. He did not know if what Qin Shing said was true or not. If he really put Qin Shing at the bottom, it would be okay if Qin Shing was unhappy. After thinking about it and weighing the pros and cons, Su Lanqing still believed what Qin Shing said was true. At least if Qin Shing was suddenly placed in a high position, everyone would definitely be dissatisfied since he was so young and inexperienced. Therefore, he smiled and said, Shangshan Ruoshui is neither big nor small. It can be divided into 3 parts: reception, security, and logistics. Reception is the most important. Our purpose is to serve every guest well. The second is security. The antiques and cultural relics here are of great value and the guests here are of noble status. If anything happens, no one will be able to bear the responsibility. The last one is logistics. Which do you choose? Reception and security are fine. I don't have much experience in reception, but I can learn. As for security, my skills should be ranked in Shangshan Ruoshui. But I prefer the former, Qin Shing said honestly. Su Lanqing was a little surprised. Qin Shing did not seem to be bragging. He thought for a while and said, In this case, you can learn first in the first month. I will find an old staff to teach you reception. Then you can contact Yuan Hua and try to familiarize yourself with Shangshan Ruoshui. You can decide what to do next month. What do you think? I will listen to Brother Su. Qin Shing had no objection. Su Lanqing said kindly, You can ask any old staff if you don't understand. Do more and suffer more losses. Build a good relationship with them. It will be good for you in the future. I will. Thank you for reminding me. Su Lanqing had already stood up. Qin Shing also stood up and said politely. Chapter 46. I have written so many new books, what do you think? If you have any comments, please leave them in the comments section. I will definitely read them. The working hours of Shangshan Ruoshui were flexible, usually from 10 a.m. to midnight. But there were not many members who came during the day. Unless there was some activity, they basically came at night. After all, this was a private club with a better environment, so Shangshan Ruoshui implemented a double-shift system. Su Lanqing used the internal system to call the person in charge of the administrative department and reception department to help Qin Shing with the entry procedures. As for the salary, it had been discussed with Qin Shing. He would be paid as an intern first and then as a formal employee after a month. The staff here were carefully selected and had a very high salary. Apart from the management, the highest salary was the artists and young masters in charge of reception, followed by the security and kitchen, and finally the administration and logistic. During the internship period, the monthly salary would be 15,000 yuan. After becoming a permanent employee, the monthly salary would be 20,000 yuan. In the future, the salary could be increased according to the situation. In addition to the various subsidies of the 5 insurances and 1 fund, the salary would definitely be higher than that of the private and foreign enterprises outside. It was said that excluding the management level, the highest annual salary would be 1 million yuan. Most importantly, the people here were at a different level. What kind of people could come to Shangshan Ruoshui? The manager of the reception department was a 36-year-old woman called Mizan. She had a natural temperament. Most importantly, she was charming but not slutty. Her eyes could definitely steal a man's soul. She used to work in airlines and international hotel groups, but was poached by Su Lanqing with a lot of money. Anyway, Jiang Xianbang was willing to spend money on Shangshan Ruoshui. Su Lanqing had something to do and had told Mizan what to do. She let Qin Xing familiarize himself with the rules of Shangshan Ruoshui. Each department of Shangshan Ruoshui had a different dress code. The artists in the reception department all wore tight gray dresses that showed off their figures. Their curves made men unable to stop looking at them. The childs all wore branded suit. After Su Lanqing left, Mizan walked to Qin Xing and said, "Little brother, how old are you this year?" This sentence was very ambiguous. Qin Xing really wanted to say, "Sister, you can try." But he still said politely, "I am 26. You're only 26 years old, but you have the taste of a 30-year-old man. You must have a lot of stories. I have wine at my place, and you happen to have stories. Do you want to go to my place tonight?" Sister An said with a smile. This kind of young married woman was the killer of young fresh meat. Unfortunately, Qin Xing did not fall for it. He maintained his shock and said, "Mizan, don't joke around." "What do you mean by joking? You're my woman in the future," Mizan teased Qin Xing relentlessly. At this time, she had already put her arm on Qin Xing's shoulder. The charming fragrance on her body was enough to make a man's heart run wild. Qin Xing had intended to keep a distance from her. However, he did not expect that Mizan would be so aggressive. Qin Xing was a little angry. He directly slapped Ms. An's butt and said, "Sister, don't lead a wolf into the house. I'm afraid that you can't take it." This action directly stunned Sister An. She did not expect Qin Xing to be so unscrupulous. When those young people who just came to Shangshan Ruoshui saw her, no matter how much their blood boiled, they had to bear it. Qin Xing was different. After doing this, Qin Xing quietly took 2 steps back and stared at Mizan, who had not come back to her senses, with a faint smile. He was not afraid that Mizan would do anything to him. "Brat, you're really something. You even dare to take advantage of me," said Sister An with a frown. Qin Xing knew that Mizan was not angry. He laughed and said, "Who asked Mizan to seduce me like this? How can I take it? If I am indifferent, doesn't it mean that Sister An is not charming enough? Oh, you have some skills. Interesting, interesting. Aren't you afraid that I will make things difficult for you in the future?" Being seen through by Qin Xing so easily, Mizan was not interested in teasing him anymore. Qin Xing said seriously, "I know, Mizan is not such a person. You're good at talking. I'll remember this first. I'll deal with you later. Let's talk business first." Mizan stared at Qin Xing and replied with a cold face instantly. Qin Xing nodded and listened to Ms. An's teaching. "Have you seen the movie The Grand Budapest Hotel?" Mizan asked casually. Qin Xing said thoughtfully, "Yes." "Then do you understand what I want to say?" It was easy to talk with smart people. Mizan felt that Qin Xing was quite clever. Gustav, the concierge, was just an ordinary concierge from beginning to end. But he could become friends with so many high-ranking officials and nobles, and even become their most trusted person. This might be the highest realm of service. What Mizan wants to say is that if you want to be an excellent service staff, you have to be like Mr. Gustav. You have to be sincere to every guest and become friends with them. You have to think about everything for them. If you can't do it, you have to find a way to do it. Qin Xing said a few words casually, which was roughly what he meant. In fact, everything was like this. Mizan ignored Qin Xing's words. The Grand Budapest Hotel is a must-see movie for every receptionist. Maybe you think that Gustav is just a character in the movie, but that's just because you haven't seen him. Many housekeepers of big families in England are even better than Gustav. This may be a bit far-fetched. I used to work for intercontinental hotels, and I've seen a lot of such concierges. There's a legendary concierge at the Peninsula Hotel in Hong Kong. Do you know why many rich and famous people would rather stay at the Peninsula Hotel instead of staying at home? It's because the Peninsula Hotel is so meticulous. That concierge is almost 70 years old now, but he's still the most popular concierge at the Peninsula Hotel. Many distinguished guests ask him to serve them when they stay. He's friends with many big shots. Just like in the movie, there were two childless rich people who directly made a will to inherit their inheritance to him. Do you think such a person is great? Qin Shing listened with great interest. He knew that this was not a story but a real person. If you haven't experienced many things, you won't know how great some people are. This kind of person, no matter what they do, can succeed. Awesome. Thank you for your teaching, Ms. And Qin Shing has learned a lot. Qin Shing listened like a primary school student. Ms. And patted Qin Shing's shoulder and said, Qin Shing, do you know what my first impression of you is? Qin Shing shook his head. He didn't know. Ms. And smiled and said, although I'm not a big shot, I should have seen more than you. It just so happens that I'm good at judging people. What you have in common with them is that there is ambition in your eyes. No matter how deep you hide it, I can see it. I know you can't stay here for a lifetime. If you want to go further, Shangshan Ruoshui can definitely help you. Do a good job. The few people who left here before are also doing well now. Qin Shing was a little surprised. He really didn't expect Mizan to be so experienced. But he still covered it up and said, Mizan, don't make fun of me. Mizan smiled disapprovingly and said, well, I will let Liu Yuan take care of you this month. He is the receptionist with the highest salary in Shangshan Ruoshui. Learn from him. I will send you a document later, which contains the detailed information of each member. It has nothing to do with their background and identity, only their habits and hobbies. As for the rest, it depends on your ability. Thank you, Mizan. Qin Shing smiled slightly. Mizan took Qin Shing out of the box and went directly to the basement floor. First, Qin Shing went through the entry procedures and received the clothes and other things. When Qin Shing changed his clothes and came out, Liu Yuan was already waiting for him outside. Liu Yuan was 1.75 meters tall. His eyes were soft and he had a smile on his face. He wore a pair of retro round glasses and had a small stubble. When he saw Qin Shing, he smiled and said, Little Qin, I am Liu Yuan. Mizan asked me to come over. Brother Liu, I will trouble you in the future. Qin Shing, who was dressed in a suit and leather shoes, was very handsome. He shook hands with Liu Yuan and replied. Liu Yuan smiled and said, Don't mention it. We will be colleagues in the future. You will follow me this month. I don't have any requirements, only one request. Brother Liu, what is it? Qin Shing asked quickly. Liu Yuan still smiled kindly and said, When you go to work, follow me and do whatever I ask you to do. Just listen and see, don't ask and don't talk, okay? No problem, I will listen to Brother Liu. Qin Shing replied without hesitation. Liu Yuan did not hesitate and said directly, Then let's start now. There will be a salon in a while. Follow me to decorate the box. There is a member whose horoscope is opposite to the water. The water view in the big box needs to be removed. A simple sentence made Qin Shing understand a lot of things. This Shangshan Ruoshui was really not simple. Uncle Jiang, you are awesome. Therefore, Qin Shing followed Liu Yuan and was busy for the whole afternoon. He also got to know a lot of artists in Shangshan Ruoshui. He had to say that the artists here were all great beauties. He really did not know where to find them. At about 3 o'clock, Jiang Xianbang came. Every artist who saw Jiang Xianbang bowed his head respectfully and called him Mr. Jiang. Those who were familiar with him would call him Uncle Jiang or Brother Jiang. When Jiang Xianbang saw Qin Shing, he turned a blind eye and walked directly to him, which made Qin Shing feel relieved. Before the salon began, several big shots came to Shangshan Ruoshui. Qin Shing knew some of them and did not know some of them. Qin Shing just stood aside and was received by other artists. Liu Yuan whispered to him what characteristics each member had. At 7 o'clock, Liu Yuan told Qin Shing that he could get off work and go back. There was nothing important in the evening and no members would come. In the past, he would tell Qin Shing in advance. Qin Shing changed his clothes and came out. He happened to meet Yuan Hua, who went home from work. Yuan Hua drove away and offered to give Qin Shing a ride. Qin Shing smiled and declined. He took the bus directly back to Thompson Golf. In these 2 days, he would find time to find a house nearby. It would be best if it was close. On the bus, people came and went in an endless stream. Every passerby had their own life and story. Some of them might have been numb, and some might be fighting for their dreams. Outside the window, the lights were on. Compared with the daytime, Shanghai at night was more prosperous and full of temptation. Qin Shing's heart was like still water. He knew that everything had just begun. This was just the first step. But no matter what, he would conquer this city. Chapter 47. When Qin Shing returned to Thompson Golf, Han Bing and the rest had already returned. With Hao Lei and Chang Baji's protection, Han Bing was absolutely safe. Moreover, Zhou Wenwu and Zhao Dongxing were already dead, so she was no longer in danger. Others only cared about the Han family's business, so they would not take the risk to target Han Bing. However, there were 2 big trucks parked in front of Thompson Golf, and many workers were moving things from the villa, which made Qin Shing a little curious. Chang Baji and Hao Lei were directing the workers, but the servants in the villa were all gone. After Qin Shing greeted them, he was puzzled. What's going on? Han Bing is going to sell all the houses under Han Guoping's name to pay off the company's debt. She said that it's useless for one person to have so many houses, so she will only live in Huarun 9 Mile Bund, Hao Lei explained casually. Qin Shing thought about it and agreed. At Han Bing's level, it was indeed useless for her to have so many houses, not to mention that she was now all alone. Oh, so it's like that, Qin Shing said thoughtfully. Chang Baji walked over and asked, "How do you feel on your first day at work? If it's not good, we'll go back to Xi'an, then I'll make sure you don't have to worry about food and clothing." No matter how hard or tiring it is, I have to have a place in Shanghai. If I go back with my tail between my legs, how shameful would it be? Qin Shing said half-jokingly. Chang Baji patted the dust on his body and said disdainfully, "You young people are so arrogant, sooner or later you'll be beaten black and blue by reality. Even if you're beaten black and blue, at least you won't have any regret." Hao Lei echoed, obviously standing on Qin Shing's side. Han Bing, who was wearing slippers and an apron with her hair tied up, ran out at this time. She looked like a young housewife, completely unlike the petty bourgeois with outstanding taste. She shouted to Chang Baji and Hao Lei, "Dinner is ready, let's eat." Seeing that Qin Shing was also there, she was quite surprised and said, "Hey, you're back, I was just about to call you, come in and eat." Qin Shing stared at Hao Lei and Chang Baji dumbfounded. What the hell, can this woman's food be eaten? You're asking us? Who should we ask? Hao Lei spread his hands and asked with a dumbfounded look. They had never eaten it before. Wasn't that obvious? In the dining room of the Han family's villa, all the servants had been dismissed by Han Bing today. After all, Han Bing had worked for the Han family for so many years, and did not let them down. The severance pay was very generous. Therefore, only Qin Shing and a few others were left in the villa. On the dining table, there were 6 dishes and 1 soup. This was the result of Han Bing's early return from work. At least on the surface, it did not look so unsightly. "Are you sure it's edible?" Qin Shing asked cautiously. Hao Lei also joked, "Big Missy, we don't have any grudges against each other in the past, right? We've always been at your beck and call. You don't have to treat us this way." Chang Baji said with a gloomy face, "Han Bing, just tell us what we did wrong. Tell us, and we'll change, okay?" The 3 of them used different ways to make fun of Han Bing. Han Bing's face changed from a smile to a gloomy expression. Finally, she slammed the table and said, "Are you going to eat it or not?" "Eat," the three of them said at the same time. Han Bing was satisfied. She put her hands on her waist and said, "If I don't show my power, you'll treat me like a sick cat." The three of them looked at each other. They had the mentality of a hero who would never come back. Finally, they risked their lives to taste Han Bing's cooking. Everyone tasted a few dishes. At the same time, they revealed an inconceivable look. Han Bing, who was at the side, asked impatiently, "How is it? How is it?" "Not bad, not bad," Qin Shing said slowly as he chewed. Hao Lei complimented, "Delicious, really delicious." "It's okay, it's edible," Chang Baji said lightly. Qin Shing asked doubtfully, "Haven't you tried it yourself?" "Nope, isn't it to leave the suspense at the end?" Han Bing took off her apron and shook her head innocently. "Then you can try it yourself." Han Bing sat down and picked up the chopsticks. She tasted a few mouthfuls of each dish. It was not as amazing as she had imagined, nor was it that bad. It could only be said to be ordinary. She finally let out a long sigh of relief. She was afraid that these people were acting. "You're quite talented. I didn't expect a rich young lady like you to know how to cook." Qin Shing ate with relish. After a busy day, he was indeed a little hungry. Han Bing said impatiently, "Don't look down on me. When I was studying in England, I often cooked by myself. You don't know how bad the food in England is. Practice more in the future. Sooner or later, you will become a chef. At least you won't starve to death." Qin Shing laughed. Han Bing replied disapprovingly, "Cooking occasionally is romantic. Cooking every day is an old woman. I don't want to be an old woman. Do you want your wife to be an old woman in the future?" Qin Shing was about to say no. He suddenly realized that there was a trick in her words. He immediately stopped and said as if he was not fooled, "Maid, tricking me again. You people in big cities have so many tricks. I want to go back to the village." Qin Shing and Han Bing laughed and quarreled. The atmosphere was finally different from before. Han Bing had also thought it through. The past was in the past. She still had a long way to go. She could only live a simple and happy life if she laughed at all kinds of things in life. Hao Lei and Chang Baji, who were at the side, only lowered their heads and ate. They were too lazy to care about the lovey-dovey couple. After dinner, Chang Baji and Hao Lei took the initiative to clean up the mess. Qin Shing and Han Bing sat on the balcony on the second floor, enjoying the wind and drinking red wine. "How's the new job?" Han Bing asked softly. She respected Qin Shing's choice and had no opinion on it. Qin Shing replied honestly, "Not bad. I started from the bottom and took my time. It's impossible to reach the sky in one step. You know more than me about many things." "I won't say much," Han Bing said meaningfully. She was too curious about Qin Shing and could not understand what kind of person he was. Qin Shing chuckled, "You are the boss of a design company. You can teach me the rules of workplace survival or office politics. Otherwise, I will ask you to take care of me when I can't survive." "Well, then don't go to work. From today onwards, you will be my mistress," Han Bing said. What was there for her to be afraid of? Qin Shing deliberately laughed and said, "I'm just joking. I heard from Hao Lei that you want to sell all the properties under Uncle Han's name?" Qin Shing said seriously after he came back to his senses. Han Bing nodded silently. "The company owes so much debt. It's better to pay back as much as possible. Zheng Ping helped me calculate. After the restructuring, I may be able to hold some shares. Although it's very small, it's already an astronomical figure for ordinary people. Moreover, I still have a design company, so I won't starve to death. You can sell Shermao Riviera Garden too. That house is quite valuable," Qin Shing said with a smile. Han Bing frowned. "Then where will you live?" "I also plan to let Hao Lei and Brother Chang live there. I'm going to rent a house near my work. I'll ask them later. If they live together, I'll find a house in the middle distance. This way, the three of us can take care of each other. If you feel bad, you can pay them more. Hee, Qin Shing thought for a while and said. He tried not to put Han Bing in a difficult position. The house in Shermao Riviera Garden was at least 10 million yuan. For Han Bing, who was short of money now, it was not a small amount. Han Bing was a little embarrassed. When she wanted to say something, Qin Shing shouted, "That's settled." Han Bing could only listen to Qin Shing's arrangement. She knew that whether it was Qin Shing, Hao Lei or Brother Chang, they were not stingy people. They would not care about these small things. "Is there any news from Tianshui?" Qin Shing suddenly asked. Although it had been a while since the incident in Tianshui and the culprits Zhou Wenwu and Zhao Dongxing were dead, there was still no news of old Wu, Chen Baiming and Han Bing's cousin. Qin Shing had been worried about this matter. For people like old Wu and Chen Baiming, Qin Shing sincerely admired them. They knew that they were going to die, but they still walked towards it. Han Bing just remembered this matter. She frowned and said, "I was about to tell you about this." The Tianshui police said that they found the bodies today. They want us to rush over to deal with the aftermath as soon as possible. I plan to go back to Tianshui and let Hao Lei and Brother Chang accompany me. You don't have to go. When? Qin Shing asked. Han Bing replied, "The morning after tomorrow. It's Friday." "I'll ask for leave and go with you," Qin Shing said without hesitation. Although he knew that it was not good to ask for leave as a man, there were some things that he had to do. Han Bing knew that it was hard to change Qin Shing's mind. She could only agree. At night, Qin Shing discussed with Hao Lei and Chang Baji about renting a house. They had no objections. At least for now, they had to continue to stay in Shanghai. So they handed over the house to Qin Shing. To them, it was fine as long as they could live in it. The next morning, Qin Shing waited for Han Bing and the rest to leave before he slowly set off to Shangshan Ruoshui. It was only 8 o'clock. He could arrive at Shangshan Ruoshui around 9 o'clock. After all, the official start time in Shangshan Ruoshui was 10 o'clock. Chapter 48. That's weird. I'm young and busy, so I can't update regularly. Please forgive me. Although there were 4 seasons in a year, it seemed that most of the time there were only summer and winter. Spring and autumn passed in the blink of an eye. It was already a little cold in Shanghai in mid-November. The rain made the pedestrians feel a little bleak. The flowers and trees on the roadside had begun to welcome the arrival of winter. Not long after Qin Shing walked out of Thompson Golf Resort with an umbrella in his hand, a Volkswagen Miting blocked his way. 3 men got out of the car looking like they were the bad guys. Qin Shing subconsciously stopped and raised his vigilance. He wondered if Zhou Wenwu's matter had been exposed, or if his old enemy had come to Shanghai to chase after him again. "Are you Qin Shing?" the leading man asked coldly. He was wearing a black suit and his hair was tied up in a pigtail. He looked quite artistic. The other 2 men should be his underlings. Qin Shing bowed slightly, facing the unknown danger at any time. He said softly, "I am Qin Shing. Who are you?" "You don't need to know who I am. Someone wants to see you," the artist man said arrogantly. He was really good at acting tough. However, Qin Shing did not buy it. He thought, "Don't think that I have to go with you just because you look like bad guys." Qin Shing smiled helplessly and was about to bypass the 3 men to continue to the bus station. Unexpectedly, the underling next to him directly pulled him and shouted at the same time, "Brother Jun is talking to you. Are you deaf?" When the underling was about to touch Qin Shing's shoulder, Qin Shing suddenly reached out like lightning. He grabbed the underling's wrist and twisted it. The underling screamed in pain. However, Qin Shing did not stop there. Instead, he hit the underling's armpit and ribs with his elbow. In the end, he pulled the underling toward him with all his strength and directly hit him with his shoulder. The whole action was so smooth that Brother June and the other underling did not have the time to react. The underling fell on the ground and was in so much pain that he could not stand up at all. The artist man called Brother June's expression changed instantly. Only then did he remember that his boss told him to be polite before he left. He immediately put away his arrogance, because obviously they were no match for the man in front of him. "Mr. Qin, my underling is not sensible. Please don't be angry." Brother June quickly apologized. Qin Shing did not want to be entangled with these people. He said casually, "If there's nothing else, I'm going to work." "Mr. Qin, our boss wants to see you. Please do us a favor tonight." Brother June was afraid that he could not complete the task and would be punished, so he said hurriedly. Qin Shing shook his head and said, "I don't even know who your boss is. Obviously, I don't know him either. How can I give you face?" "Our boss is Mr. Li Jun of Xinghe Industry. Although you haven't seen him before, he knows you and wants to make friends with you," Brother June continued. Qin Shing seemed to have heard of this name, but he definitely did not know who it was. He hesitated for a while and said, "Address? I'll get off work at 6 p.m. I'll be there." Brother June quickly reported the address, Sinan Mansion. Qin Shing nodded thoughtfully. Without saying anything, he left directly. "Brother June, who is this Qin Shing? Why is he so powerful?" After Qin Shing left, the underling next to him helped the injured man up and asked with a puzzled face. Mr. Li was a famous man. In recent years, he had been doing well in the Bund. Why did he give face to an unknown junior? Qin Shing did not seem to appreciate it. Brother June frowned and said, "You know nothing about Mr. Li's business. You are a disgrace. You almost made a mistake. Get out of here." After cursing a few times, the few of them finally drove away. This little episode did not affect Qin Shing's mood. He had experienced too many things in the past few years. He was no longer the college student in the ivory tower who often met strange people and interesting things. When he arrived at Shangshan Ruoshui, there was no one except for the security personnel on duty at night. The security department was a secondary department, second only to the reception department. There was a manager and 2 deputy managers. No matter day or night, there was a manager on duty. At the same time, there was a police station next to Shangshan Ruoshui. There was a police station not far away. So far, there had been no accidents, not to mention the big boss Jiang Xianbang was behind it. Qin Shing changed his clothes and came out. He met Chen Xiangyang, the manager of the security department who was on duty last night. Qin Shing had learned about the heads of the departments in Shangshan Ruoshui yesterday. Naturally, he recognized Chen Xiangyang. This was also the first time he saw Chen Xiangyang. But this man looked a little pale. His eyes were swollen and his face was yellow. "Brother Chen." Qin Shing greeted politely. Yuan Hua had already told the security department that Qin Shing was arranged by Mr. Su. Chen Xiangyang naturally knew that. After all, he knew everyone in Shangshan Ruoshui. Only Qin Shing was the first time he met him. So he said, "You are Qin Shing?" Qin Shing smiled and nodded. "Do well. Shangshan Ruoshui is a good place." Chen Xiangyang patted Qin Shing's shoulder and said, "Brother Chen, are you ready to get off work? I think you don't look very good. Take care of your body." Qin Shing kindly reminded him. Chen Xiangyang should be about 40 years old. When a man reached this age, he should pay more attention to his health. Chen Xiangnan casually thanked him and then left. He did not say anything more to Qin Shing. Qin Shing walked upstairs and downstairs twice. Not long after, other employees also came. Yuan Hua was still on the day shift today. At night, another deputy manager was in charge. In the reception department, Liu Yuan came the earliest. He was indeed the best son. Mizan arrived on time. But after everyone arrived, they immediately got busy. But this morning, There were no members visiting and no activities arranged. Qin Xing followed Liu Yuan to the reception department for a meeting. Mizan formally introduced Qin Xing to everyone. Qin Xing politely greeted everyone. Only then did he realize that there were only 6 men in the reception department, including him. The rest were all beautiful women. But the men who could stay here were all lucky. Unfortunately, Shangshan Ruoshui prohibited internal love affairs. Once found, both parties would be expelled. This rule seemed to be set by Mr. Su. Qin Xing continued to study with Liu Yuan. At lunchtime, he found Mizan and wanted to take 2 days off. He said that he wanted to go back to his hometown to deal with some private affairs. Mizan frowned and said, Qin Xing, you just came and you want to take a leave. It doesn't look good. Mizan, this is the only time. Qin Xing had to accompany Han Bing to Tianshui. This was his way of doing things. This time it was not for Han Bing, but because he respected Mr. Wu and Chen Baiming. Mizan, who was wearing a gray dress today, squinted at Qin Xing and said, Qin Xing, you young people are too impetuous sometimes. The most important thing in life is to seize the opportunity. You are only in your internship period. Don't make things difficult for Mr. Su. Mizan, I understand what you mean. I will definitely not let you down. Qin Xing did not beg. He just said casually. If Mizan did not agree, he would look for Mr. Su. If Mr. Su did not agree, he would look for Jiang Xianbang. Mizan did not make a decision on her own. Instead, she took a step back and said, Then you go and talk to Mr. Su. If he agrees, I have no objection. I will inform the administrative department. Thank you, Mizan, Qin Xing said happily. Qin Xing did not go to Su Lanqing directly. He did not want others to think that his relationship with Su Lanqing was not simple. Instead, he directly called Su Lanqing and told him that he was going to Tianshui to deal with something. As expected, Su Lanqing agreed. Then Qin Xing told Mizan and it was finally settled. Qin Xing, who was in his internship period, got off work at 6:00 in the evening. He was a little busy in the afternoon. Because today was Friday, several groups of members came. Qin Xing still did not have the opportunity to meet them directly. Instead, he followed behind and helped them. Everyone had to rise up from the bottom. Qin Xing did not have any opinion on this. After work, Qin Xing did not rush back to Thompson Golf. Instead, he came out and called Jiang Xianbang to ask, Uncle Jiang, do you know the details of Li Jun of Xinghe Industry? Li Jun of Xinghe Industry. How did you get involved with him? Jiang Xianbang, who was accompanying the leader outside, asked in confusion. Qin Xing smiled bitterly and said, I don't know. He wants to see me. I have an appointment at Sinan Mansion tonight. That's a bit strange. Has Zhou Wenwu's matter been exposed? That's not right. Zhou Wenwu is backed by the Yan family. Li Jun is a rising star. Behind him is another force, which belongs to the big shots of Ningbo gang. He has nothing to do with the Yan family. Why does he want to see you? Jiang Xianbang was also curious. After hearing Jiang Xianbang's words, Qin Xing frowned and said, Should I go or not? You have to go. You can't do anything that will embarrass him. But you have to be careful. If you feel something is wrong, find a way to withdraw. Jiang Xianbang suggested. Qin Xing nodded silently and said, Okay, I got it. Before hanging up the phone, Qin Xing did not forget to say, By the way, I took 2 days off to accompany Han Bing back to Tianshui to do the last thing. Have you told Su Lanqing? Jiang Xianbang asked calmly. Anyway, Su Lanqing was responsible for Shangshan Ruoshui. Qin Xing knew what Su Lanqing meant. He smiled and said, You don't have to worry about these things. Boy, be careful on the road. If something happens, find Zhao Quan. Jiang Xianbang laughed and scolded. Chapter 49. Why or when encountering something, Qin Xing would never choose to escape, but to find ways to solve it. No matter how difficult it was, he would try his best. At worst, he would get half the result with twice the effort. If a man wanted to succeed, this was the most basic ability. Once he flinched, it would often become a habit. When the opportunity came, if it was accompanied by difficulties and setbacks, he would often choose to escape subconsciously. Before coming to Shanghai, Qin Xing knew what kind of life he was going to lead and what kind of things he might encounter. He had originally chosen a road full of thorns and setbacks. The only thing he could do was to brace himself and move forward. He could not retreat and go back on the road. As long as Li Jun was not a demon or a ghost or a god or a Buddha, Qin Xing would definitely meet him. He did not have the ability to offend such a person. Even if he was very reluctant, he had to go, not to mention that Qin Xing was not unwilling. Sinan Mansion was very close to Shangshan Ruoshui. Took only 10 minutes to walk there. Han Bing's design company was not far away. Qin Xing had already learned from Chang Baji that Han Bing was in the design company today. She did not need to worry too much about Guoping Group. Xing Ping had reached an agreement with the creditors on behalf of the company. The two sides set up a committee to deal with this matter together. Sinan Mansion was the only project in the center of Shanghai that aimed to preserve and protect garden houses. It had 51 historic garden houses, adjacent to the elegant Fuxing Park, the convenient Chongqing South Road in the east, and the quiet Sinan Road running through it. The former residence of Sun Zhongshan was in the north, and it was next to the Zhou Mansion of our party's Shanghai office. Modern historical celebrities Liu Yazi and Mei Lanfang once lived here. There were boutique hotels, serviced apartments, corporate residences and commercial districts, which complemented the century-old classic buildings and the former residences of celebrities along Huaihai Road. It became the most distinctive scenery in the center of Shanghai with humanities, history and fashion. The place where Li Jun, the rising star, asked Qin Xing to meet was in the Sinan Mansion Hotel. He booked a detached house with a garden here and hired 2 chefs to cook. Most of the time, he lived here. That brother Jun had been standing at the entrance of the hotel waiting for Qin Xing since 6 o'clock. However, after seeing Qin Xing, he finally felt relieved. He was afraid that Qin Xing would stand him up. If that happened, he would completely lose face in front of his boss. "Mr. Qin, you're here. Mr. Li is already waiting for you inside." Brother Jun, who had a braid, greeted Qin Xing eagerly. He was not as arrogant as he was when he first saw Qin Xing in the morning. He was afraid that if he said something wrong and got beaten up by this man, his boss would probably punish him. Qin Xing said calmly, "Take me in." Brother Jun stretched out his hand politely, and then carefully led Qin Xing to the garden house where Boss Li lived. It had to be said that the environment of Sinan Mansion was really good, more tasteful than those hotels on high-rise buildings in Pudong. There were 2 bodyguards at the door of the foreign-style house. They naturally stopped Qin Xing and gestured for him to be searched. Qin Xing looked slightly angry. Beside him, Brother Jun said embarrassedly, "Mr. Qin, this is the rule. I hope you don't mind." Qin Xing was serious and took the initiative to open his hands for them to check. The check was very detailed, but it was not too much. It was estimated that they just wanted to save face. Later, Qin Xing was taken into the foreign-style house by Brother Jun. Compared with Jiang Xianbang's mansion and Shangshan Ruoshui, the single-family foreign-style house of Sinan Mansion was naturally less tasteful. Although it had a restaurant, kitchen and so on, it was a hotel after all, and they were reluctant to spend so much money. In the living room, a man in his early 30s was watching TV with a sexy and enchanting beauty in his arms. The man's hair was combed back, and he was dressed casually in ordinary sweatpants and short-sleeved shirts. He wore a pair of sandals on his feet. His hand had already reached into the V-neck of the beauty next to him and was touching her. He was Li Jun of Xinghe Industry, a rising star of Shanghai Bund. "Boss, Mr. Qin is here," Brother Jun whispered to remind him. Li Jun then let go of the beauty next to him. He stood up calmly and laughed. Brother Qin, I've been waiting for you. Come on, sit down. Before Qin Shing came here, he searched for information about Xinghe industry and Li Jun. He found nothing on the internet. What he could find were some scraps. It seemed that this man was quite low-key. He politely said, I've heard of Mr. Li's name for a long time, but I didn't expect to meet you. I hope Mr. Li can take care of me. Qin Shing would naturally say such words on such occasions. After all, it was the first time they met. Qin Shing would not go up to him and confide in him, just like a long-lost brother. After all, they were not at the same level. Li Jun stood up and waved his hand, motioning the beauty in his arms to go upstairs. He slowly walked in front of Qin Shing, put his arm around Qin Shing's shoulder and said, Brother Qin Shing, you'd better leave these polite words to others. Although it's the first time we meet, I appreciate you very much. I'm 33 this year, a few years older than you. If you don't mind, you can call me Brother Li. Up to now, Qin Shing still did not know what Li Jun was selling, but Li Jun was not at the same level as him at all. Since Li Jun could give him such face, Qin Shing had to bear it no matter how reluctant he was. How dare I mind? I'm afraid that I'll climb up the social ladder. After all, I'm just a nobody with a small nose and small eyes. Li Jun motioned Qin Shing to sit down. Qin Shing said with a smile. Li Jun asked the servant to serve tea, and deliberately said with a straight face, Look, I don't like what you said. Who doesn't have a small nose and small eyes? Today there are only two of us. It has nothing to do with our identity and background. If you're too polite, I'll be really disappointed. Brother Li, Qin Shing shouted directly after he had finished his modest words. Li Jun laughed and said, That's right. Xiao Jun, ask the kitchen if it's ready. I'm already a little hungry. It was already time for dinner. Li Jun knew that Qin Shing must not have eaten, so he had already told him. Not long after, Brother Jun ran back and said, Boss, dinner is ready. Qin Shing, let's go. Let's eat and talk. Li Jun said to Qin Shing with a smile. Qin Shing followed him and stood up. Li Jun said happily, Can you drink? It should be okay to drink a little. Li Jun knew that this was a polite remark. If this kind of person did not drink, it would be even more terrible. He smiled and said, White, red or foreign, I have all kinds of wine. White is the best. Qin Shing said lightly. Qin Shing's alcohol tolerance was not bad. He could drink any kind of wine. When he was in a good mood, he could drink more. Most people were like this. After Li Jun heard it, he immediately ordered, Bring 2 bottles of my treasured Maotai. At the dining table, there were no outsiders. Qin Shing and Li Jun sat opposite each other, which made Qin Shing feel a little funny. After all, the person sitting here was not Jiang Xianbang. Li Jun was a big boss. Why did he give him face? What did he want? They are all simple Ningbo dishes. I don't know if you are used to it. Li Jun was from Ningbo. Naturally, he had to use his hometown dishes to entertain guests. If he was not used to it, he would change the taste next time. Qin Shing replied truthfully, Zhejiang dishes are sweet. I can eat it occasionally. But I can't eat it every day. Ha ha ha, foreigners always say so. Li Jun laughed and said. People in different places had different eating habits. After laughing, he raised his glass and said, Come on, let's drink first. After drinking a glass of wine, Li Jun's eyes changed slightly and said, I heard that Lao Di studied in Shanghai? After graduation, I couldn't find a job, so I went out to wander for 2 years. This sentence was very subtle. Li Jun must have investigated a lot of things about him since he could invite him here. This was also a test. Qin Shing didn't mind telling him directly about these things that everyone knew, so he didn't want to waste so much time talking to him. Li Jun was a little surprised and said, I didn't expect that Lao Di was a top graduate from Fudan University. Philosophy Department of Fudan University is a trump card. Unfortunately, I only cared about playing when I was in school. Later, I had to spend money to enter 3 diploma schools. Now I regret it more or less. Brotherly, I really can't answer your words. How many graduates from Fudan University can reach your position? Qin Shing laughed and said. Li Jun laughed and replied, Brother, sooner or later, you will be like this. I really rarely see young people like you. Moreover, you have Brother Jiang's support. Li Jun took the initiative to mention Jiang Xianbang. It seemed that he knew a lot, which made Qin Shing's face slightly changed. I am just a nobody. Brother Li is flattering me. Qin Shing drank by himself and said softly. Li Jun pointed at Qin Shing and said happily, Brother, you are too modest. You must be curious why I want to see you. After all, we don't have much interaction. We are both smart people. Sometimes it is quite annoying when smart people are together with smart people. You have to go around dozens of circles to get to the point. It is better to go straight to the point. It is more comfortable. Li Jun pointed at Qin Shing and said happily, Brother, you are too modest. Then I want to know, what qualifications do I have to enter the eyes of such a big man like Brother Li? Qin Shing suddenly said such a sentence. After hearing this, Li Jun put away the smile on his face and said seriously, What do you think? I really don't know. Qin Shing shook his head and said. The answer must be revealed by Li Jun. Li Jun sneered and said, Why? Because I want to see what kind of person the man who dared to kill Zhou Wenwu is. Chapter 50. If it wasn't you, who would it be? My entire left leg is throbbing in pain and numbness. I'm currently undergoing conservative treatment, so I can only lie down. Plus, it's the Lunar New Year period, so I've been embarrassed to update. However, as long as I have time to write, I'll try my best to update. I hope everyone can understand. I can't do anything to those who scold me. After all, my body is the most important thing. If I scold the person next door, how am I going to live in the future if my waist is already failing at the age of 27? How can I live in the future? Qin Shing really didn't know how to respond to this sentence. Could it be that what happened that night was really exposed? If so, he would not be able to stay in Shanghai in the future. Not to mention the Yan family behind Zhou Wenwu. Zhou Wenwu's trusted subordinates were enough to make him embarrassed. However, Qin Shing didn't think that they were careless that night, so it was more likely that Li Jun guessed or tricked him. Therefore, Qin Shing's brain was spinning fast, how to answer Li Jun's question. 2 seconds, this moment only lasted for 2 seconds. Qin Shing panicked and said, Brother Li, don't joke about this. It will bring me a fatal disaster. I'm just a small character, how can I be involved in this kind of thing? Li Jun held a wine glass in one hand and touched his swept-back hair with the other. He stared at Qin Shing with a playful look and said, Is it really not you? Did I guess wrong? But why does my intuition tell me that it was you? I wouldn't dare to do it even if I had 10,000 gut. Any character on Brother Zhou's side can easily trample me to death, Qin Shing said in fear and trepidation. Li Jun raised his head and drank the wine. He stared at Qin Shing and said, Qin Shing, I just said that you and I are both smart, but sometimes we are too long-winded. Do you really think that I invited you here without knowing anything? Qin Shing muttered in his heart, We are not at the same level. How can I be so straightforward? I won't even know how I die. After Han Guoping committed suicide, you accompanied Han Bing to send Han Guoping back to Tianshui, Gansu province. I don't know what happened in between, but you came back alive. Han Guoping's confidants, Old Man Wu and Chen Baiming, died in Tianshui. Everyone knows that Han Guoping's confidant, Zhao Dongxing, colluded with Zhou Wenwu and wanted to kill Han Guoping's daughter, Han Bing, and take over Han Guoping's business. However, Zhou Wenwu suddenly disappeared. Obviously, he didn't run away. At present, he should be dead. Later, Zhao Dongxing also died. Do you know how Zhao Dongxing died? Li Jun continued to say. Qin Shing shook his head this time and said, I really don't know. I killed him. Li Jun suddenly revealed a creepy expression and laughed loudly. Qin Shing was stunned again. What the hell? During that time, I sent people to follow Zhao Dongxing. Zhao Dongxing and Zhou Wenwu were inseparable, so I found out that you were following Zhao Dongxing and Zhou Wenwu. I definitely didn't dare to touch Zhou Wenwu, but I didn't expect you to be so bold. You killed Zhou Wenwu quietly. You really got rid of the evil for the people. So you don't need to do anything to Zhao Dongxing. It just so happens that I have some grievances with you, so I will do you a favor. Li Jun said unscrupulously, as if he was not afraid that Qin Shing would say these things. After Li Jun finished his words, Qin Shing slowly gave in and said, I promised Master Han that I would protect Han Bing for him, so I will do what I have to do. But I really didn't kill Zhou Wenwu. I don't have the ability and courage to do so. But I really have to thank Brother Li for killing Zhao Dongxing, so that Han Bing is completely safe. At this time, Qin Shing, you are still playing tricks with me. It seems that you don't treat me as a friend. Li Jun was a little unhappy. Qin Shing would not admit it even if he was beaten to death. He thought, we are not close brothers. Do you think I will tell you everything just because we drank a few glasses of wine? Do you really think I am a 3-year-old kid? Therefore, Qin Shing shook his head and sighed. Brother Li, I have admitted what I should admit, but I really don't lie to you. I really didn't do it. You really didn't do it? Li Jun stared at Qin Shing and said, trying to figure out whether Qin Shing was telling the truth or not. He said to himself, then who did it? Qin Shing still showed fear and trepidation, for fear that Li Jun really thought that it was him who did it. Who cares who did it? Anyway, he is already dead. That kind of person deserves to die 100 times. Come on, let's drink. Li Jun suddenly laughed, which shocked Qin Shing. Qin Shing smiled and drank 2 glasses of wine with Li Jun. He thought that the matter was over, but Li Jun said again, Qin Shing, I heard that you have a good relationship with Brother Jiang. Qin Shing was a little confused and said, I just have a little relationship with Uncle Jiang. This is not the news I heard. I heard that Brother Jiang used a valuable Yuan dynasty blue and white porcelain to protect you from Third Master Wu. But I am not very clear why he let you go to Shongshan Ruoshui to be an ordinary receptionist. Is it to train you from the most basic level? Li Jun said with a smile. He had investigated Qin Shing thoroughly, so he had plenty of time to play with Qin Shing slowly. Qin Shing was a little unhappy. He really did not like this feeling. He sneered and said, I didn't expect Brother Li to know me so well. I don't mean anything else. Li Jun shrugged. Qin Shing asked again, I think Brother Li asked me to come here today, should not be to drink and chat with me. Of course, I don't have that kind of free time. As for whether Zhou Wenwu's matter was done by you or not, it has nothing to do with me. I'm just very curious about you, and I'm also quite optimistic about you. I want to ask if you are interested in hanging out with me. Li Jun no longer hid and said straightforwardly. This made Qin Shing very surprised. He did not expect that this was the ultimate purpose of Li Jun. He was stunned for a moment and replied, Thank you for your appreciation, Brother Li. How can I work with you? Besides, I just arrived at Shongshan Ruoshui. If I leave like this, I can't explain to Uncle Jiang. If I am really unhappy in Shongshan Ruoshui in the future, I will come to you again and hope you can give me a bowl of rice. Your words are really watertight. Remember not to offend Brother Jiang or me. Qin Shing, I really appreciate you. Qin Shing did not accept the olive branch, and Li Jun did not continue to pester him. Moreover, what he said may not be true or false. Maybe he was just testing Qin Shing's character. Thank you, Brother Li. Qin Shing said respectfully. Li Jun got up and said, Well, I still have something to do. I can't continue to accompany you. If you have any problems in the future, you can directly find me. I will selectively help you within the scope of my ability. This sentence was obviously to send Qin Shing away. No matter how insensible Qin Shing was, he knew that he should get out of here. So he got up happily and said, "Well, then I won't bother you. You can come to Shongshan Ruoshui when you have time. I will entertain you personally." Li Jun did not answer, just waved his hand, and Qin Shing smiled and left. After Qin Shing left, Li Jun immediately called Brother Jun and said, "Xiao Jun, keep an eye on him and see if there is anyone outside to pick him up." "Boss, don't worry, I am going to follow him." Brother Jun immediately ran out, and at the same time, asked someone to go to the monitoring room of Sinan Mansion, so that there would be no mistakes. Chang Baji had been waiting for Qin Shing outside. Once Qin Shing had something to tell him, he would immediately rush in. He was completely relieved until Qin Shing came out. After seeing Qin Shing, Chang Baji asked quickly, "Is it all right?" Qin Shing chuckled and said, "It's all right." "That's good." Chang Baji nodded silently and then asked, "Who is looking for you tonight and making you so worried?" "A rising star in the Bund. I am afraid that Zhou Wenwu's matter will be exposed, so I asked you to come to pick him up." Qin Shing did not hide and said truthfully, "No one should have found out that night, otherwise we would not have lived until today." Chang Baji said meaningfully. Qin Shing smiled and nodded. From Li Jun's tone tonight, he knew that Li Jun definitely did not find out and was just guessing. Qin Shing was too lazy to pay attention to him and said casually, "Did Han Bing go back?" "No, she is waiting for you at the company. She said that she would invite us to dinner tonight." Chang Baji whispered. Qin Shing nodded and said, "Let's go." Chapter 51. Try, I have been recuperating these days. I wish everyone good luck in the year of the rooster. May your work be smooth, your relationship be satisfactory, and your family be happy. The most important thing is to be healthy and safe. I have been lying on the bed most of the time these days. I finally know how uncomfortable it is to have a waist pain. As long as I use force, I will cry because of the pain. The worst thing is that I can't fall asleep at night. I don't have much expectation for 2017. I just want to write and read quietly. That is to recuperate. Don't be sick. Since ancient times, heroes come from the young. Li Jun now looked at Qin Shing in a new light. Although he did not figure out Qin Shing's background, he knew that Qin Shing was not an ordinary person to be able to do such a thing at this age. What's more, Qin Shing was meticulous and experienced. He did not reveal any clues, so people could only suspect him at most. However, there was always a loophole. Li Jun had his own way of dealing with things. Now he had verified his guess. But he was curious about why Qin Shing, who was so extraordinary, would go to Shongshan Ruoshui to be an ordinary waiter. Could it be that he was a younger generation cultivated by Jiang Xianbang? But Jiang Xianbang would not take such a big risk for a young man. So there must be a relationship between them that outsiders did not know. Only by investigating this matter could he understand everything. After Qin Shing and Chang Baji left, he called Han Bing. Han Bing said that her friend introduced her to an authentic Shangxi restaurant nearby. Then she sent Qin Shing the address and asked them to take a taxi there. Qin Shing, who was in a cold sweat, really wanted to drink 2 cups of Shifeng to calm down. It would be best if there was authentic Shifeng 375. He chatted with Chang Baji along the way. For him, the worst ending was nothing more than running away. He did not care, but he was afraid of delaying Chang Baji. After all, Chang Baji was just here to help. Han Bing and Hao Lei were already in the private room. The names of the private rooms were all prefecture-level cities in Shangxi. Han Bing's private room was called Baoji, the hometown of Emperor Yin. Han Bing was chatting with Hao Lei in the private room. Han Bing was wearing a deep V-neck thin sweater, slim white jeans, and a Hermes scarf. Coupled with her shoulder-length short hair, her temperament was undeniable. Even though Hao Lei had known Han Bing for some time, he always blushed when talking to her. He never dared to look her in the eye. Hao Lei was really glad that the Han Bing that Hao Lei knew was the changed Han Bing. If it was the Han Bing that he just met, she could easily make Hao Lei run around in circles with a few flirtatious glances and tricks. "Are you guys done?" After Qin Sheng and Chang Baji came in, Han Bing stood up and smiled. The way she looked at Qin Sheng was like the warm sun in the cold winter. Anyway, in the eyes of Chang Baji and Hao Lei, Qin Sheng and Han Bing were completely a couple. Hao Lei and Qin Sheng had known each other for so many years, and he knew that Qin Sheng only had one girlfriend. That was Su Qin, the popular girl in their high school. To be honest, Su Qin was definitely the absolute goddess in every man's heart. Apart from her prominent family background, her appearance, IQ, and EQ were all outstanding. Unfortunately, they did not get together in the end. But Han Bing, who was in front of him, was no worse than Su Qin. For Qin Sheng, she might be a good choice. Qin Sheng smiled and nodded. Han Bing did not ask more. She was getting more and more familiar with Qin Sheng and knew how to get along with him. Qin Sheng absolutely did not like anyone to interfere with his freedom. Besides, he had too many secrets or stories, so she had to respect everything about him. "I haven't eaten Shangxi food before, so I didn't order. Hao Lei said to wait for you guys to arrive." Han Bing poured a cup of Jingyang Fu tea for Qin Sheng and smiled. She was getting more and more used to her current identity. After calling the waiter, Qin Sheng, Hao Lei, and Chang Baji discussed and ordered a few Shangxi dishes. There were all kinds of common dishes, but they did not know how they tasted. Chang Baji already knew that Qin Sheng wanted to drink, so he asked, "Do you have Shifeng 375, the kind that costs about 20 yuan?" The waiter replied that there were all the main series of Shifeng here, but this kind of cheap wine might be more expensive. Naturally, they did not care about this, so they ordered a bottle. They just asked frequently, and did not think about making anyone drunk. Han Bing said that she would drive back, so the three of them could drink some. Not long after, the wine and dishes were served. After they tasted it, they felt that the taste was quite authentic. It must be a chef from Xi'an. After 3 rounds of wine, Han Bing waited for them to have a good time, then she asked Qin Sheng, "Have you applied for leave?" "Yes, I have. Anyway, I just arrived, and have nothing to do," Qin Sheng replied while eating his gourd skin. Han Bing said in a low voice, "Sorry to trouble you again. If you say this again, I won't go next time." Qin Sheng was a little angry. "Moreover, this time I'm not doing it for you, but for Old Wu and Dark North. I admire them." "I know, thank you," Han Bing said with her head lowered. She would never doubt Qin Sheng's character. Because of this, she realized that she had already fallen in love with Qin Sheng. This time, even if it was a moth flying into the fire, she would not hesitate. After dinner, Han Bing drove them back to Thompson Gulf. When they came back from Tianshui, Han Bing would move back to Huarun 9 Mile Bund. Thompson Gulf would probably be put up for sale. In the morning, they set off for Tianshui again. This was probably the last time they would take Han Guoping's private plane. This plane was the property of Guoping Group, and it might be sold in 2 days. When they arrived at Tianshui, it was noon. Qin Sheng did not bother Zhao Quan again. The relatives of the Han family brought them back to the hotel. After lunch and a short rest, they went to the Public Security Bureau. With Zhao Quan's prior instructions and the attention of the leaders of the city, the Public Security Bureau was naturally very cooperative. They had already confirmed the identity of the bodies. They were the missing people that night. However, the decomposition was more serious, so they chose to cremate them directly. Everything was carried out according to the procedure. Qin Sheng also identified the photos of the bodies. They were indeed Old Wu and Chen Baiming. The urns of the 2 juniors of the Han family had been taken away. The funeral had started yesterday, and they would be buried the next morning. Old Wu and Qin Baiming's urns were still in the funeral parlor. Qin Shing and Han Bing personally took the urns back and placed them in the hotel. Then, Qin Shing accompanied Han Bing to attend the funeral of Han Bing's cousin. Han Bing deserved to be compensated. She did not feel bad about the money at all. After all, they died because of her. From that afternoon until the next morning, Han Bing was very upset. So many people had died for her, how could she not be sad? But at least Qin Shing was by her side. Sometimes, when she was sleepy, she would directly lean on Qin Shing's shoulder to sleep. When the funeral of Han Bing's cousin and her cousin was over, they returned to Shanghai in the afternoon. Han Bing had already asked someone to choose a grave. As Chen Baiming and Old Wu had no relatives, they were directly buried the next day without going through the complicated procedures. After settling down Old Wu and Chen Baiming, Qin Shing let out a long sigh. This matter was finally over. However, the process was a little complicated and they had also paid a heavy price. He hoped that such a thing would not happen again. After finishing all these, Han Bing could finally put down the stone in her heart. She had experienced too much in the past month, and seemed to have grown up in an instant. Unfortunately, it was not because she wanted to grow up, but because she had to. It was both good and bad. In the afternoon, Han Bing and the rest rested. After finishing his work, Qin Shing directly went back to Shangshan Ruoshui. He had already informed Su Lanqing that he would only be back in the afternoon. Su Lanqing could not do anything about it. After all, Qin Shing was Jiang Xianbang's man. Su Lanqing did not care at all, but Mizhen had a problem with Qin Shing. When she saw Qin Shing, she directly called her office and scolded him. Qin Shing had no choice but to reply, "Mizhen, I know I was wrong. Please don't be angry, it's not good for your health." Qin Shing, you are the one who was arranged by Mr. Su. There has never been anyone in Shangshan Ruoshui who had connections. You are the first. You have just arrived and you have already taken such a long leave. How can others have a chance to take a leave? Don't let others have a problem with you and don't embarrass Mr. Su, Mizhen said resentfully. Apart from her admiration for Qin Shing, the second reason why Mizhen valued Qin Shing so much was because of his relationship with Su Lanqing. Qin Shing smiled and said, "Mizhen, I know you are doing this for my own good. Don't worry, I won't do this in the future. I hope you will keep your words. Go and do your work." Mizhen waved her hand and said helplessly. If Qin Shing still did this, she would definitely tell Su Lanqing that Qin Shing was not suitable here. No matter how powerful Su Lanqing was, he could not ruin the reputation of Shangshan Ruoshui. At that time, if the big boss got angry, he would have to pack up and leave. When Qin Shing came out, Liu Yuan was waiting for him outside. He whispered, "Were you scolded?" Qin Shing smiled helplessly. "You will get used to it. Although Mizhen usually smiles to everyone and has a bad temper, if you make a mistake, she will scold you to death, but she is kind at heart. As long as you do your work well, she will not make things difficult for you. However, the other two deputy managers are not as kind as Mizhen. They have a problem with you, a new intern. I don't know who told them that you were arranged by Mr. Su. Someone is going to use you to establish their power. Where there are people, there will be intrigue. You should take care of yourself," Liu Yuan kindly reminded him. Qin Shing frowned. He did not expect that he had just arrived and already made others feel uncomfortable. Anyway, he had Jiang Xianbang behind him. If anyone wanted to fight with him, they could try. For the whole afternoon, Qin Shing was busy following Liu Yuan until the woman in Chong Sam came again. After entering the box, she directly asked Qin Shing to come and serve her, which made many people puzzled. After Qin Shing went in, he understood what was going on. It turned out that the playboy was also here. Chapter 52. So troublesome, it's the beginning of the new year. Everyone else has started working, but I've been running around in the hospital. I can't sleep because of the pain every night. I've never felt so bad. I'm feeling better today and started writing. But I can't sit for too long, so I'll write as much as I can. I hope you can understand." When the elegant, noble and charming woman in Cheongsam arrived, Qin Shing and Liu Yuan were cleaning up a box. Because a member would come later, Liu Yuan had told Qin Shing that this member had mysophobia and obsessive-compulsive disorder, so the box must be tidied up to his liking. Otherwise, if he was not satisfied, Mizan would definitely get angry. Changshan Ruoshui had a total of 24 private rooms, big and small. The name of each private room was chosen by a master. There were no elegant words in the private rooms, nor were they named after mountains, rivers, places or numbers. They were all unique words. Up until now, Qin Shing had not found the pattern and did not know how the names were chosen. Qin Shing knocked on the door and entered after hearing Ms. Cheongsam's soothing voice. Ms. Cheongsam was not wearing a cheongsam today, but a more formal suit. She must have come directly after finishing her work. Her hair was still in a bun, and she wore a good-quality jade bracelet on her wrist. "Miss Xue, are you looking for me?" Qin Shing nodded politely. Xue Hao, who was more stubborn than anyone, was sitting next to Qin Shing and was winking at him. Qin Shing ignored him. Xue Qinyan, one of the 6 VVIP members, still did not have a good impression of Qin Shing. She just said casually, "I heard from Hao that you study antiques and history?" Qin Shing knew a little about these things, but he certainly did not study them. This guy was King tricking him again. Qin Shing cursed in his heart, but still said respectfully, "Just a little." "Where did you study?" Xue Qinyan asked with interest. Her eyes were very cold, and she was somewhat arrogant. Most goddesses seemed to be like this in front of others. Qin Shing answered truthfully, "Fudan University Philosophy Department." Fudan University Philosophy Department? Xue Qinyan was a little surprised. She did not expect Qin Shing to be a top student. Moreover, those who could choose to study philosophy at Fudan University were all tough people. Nowadays, there were not many young people who were willing to study philosophy. Xue Hao, who was beside her, was also stunned for a moment. He had thought that Qin Shing only knew how to fight and probably did not even go to university. He did not expect him to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. This piqued Xue Qingyan's interest. The artists in Changshan Ruoshui were carefully selected, but none of them were from a first-tier university like Fudan. Even though the salary was not low, for these arrogant young people, it was somewhat shameful to be a waitress. So she asked curiously, "It should be easy for you to find a job after you graduated from Fudan. Why did you come here?" "The salary is high, I'm just trying to make a living," Qin Shing said casually. He really wanted to say, "Why do you care so much about me?" Xue Qinyan squinted and said, "Really? I wouldn't dare to lie to you," Qin Shing said with a smile. Xue Qinyan thought about it, but she did not care too much. She still had something to do, so she said to Qin Shing, "Hao said that he is more interested in the antiques in Changshan Ruoshui. Show him around and tell him about them. After you are done, send him back directly. I will inform old Su." "Understood," Qin Shing said in a low voice. Xue Hao followed Qin Shing and left with a cheeky smile. Xue Qinyan always felt that these two guys were a little strange, but she could not figure out what it was. Maybe she was thinking too much. Maybe Xue Hao was really interested in these things. After they went out, Qin Shing deliberately made fun of him. "Master Xue, this way please." "Qin Shing, don't play games with me. Tell me the truth, can you do it or not? If not, I will find someone else," Xue Hao said straightforwardly since his aunt was not around. Qin Shing said with a smile, "Why? You don't believe me? I always feel that you are not reliable. If you are so great, why are you here as a waitress?" This was what Xue Hao was most puzzled about. But the calmness that Qin Shing showed that day made him feel very contradictory. Qin Shing led Xue Hao to the corridor. When people passed by, he introduced the antiques in the collection. Mizan had already sent him a detailed list and introduction of the collection in Shangshan Ruoshui, and Liu Yuan had also told him a lot. Coupled with the fact that Qin Sheng already knew these things, he almost understood it. After committing murder and arson, you have to find a way to escape. What do you know? Qin Sheng rolled his eyes and said disdainfully. Xue Hao, who had short hair and simple clothes, did not look like a playboy at all. But since he had an aunt like Xue Qingyan, his family was naturally not simple. It could only be said that this guy was too low-key in school. Then tell me, what should I do about it? Xue Hao did not care about being bullied. What he cared about was that the girl he liked looked down on him and thought that he was a good-for-nothing. But his father did not allow him to cause trouble in school. Secondly, he felt that it would be too embarrassing if he told this to his family. He could only say that he was suffering because of his pride. Did I say that I will help you? Even if I help you, how are you going to repay me? Qin Shing did not know whether to laugh or cry. Hearing this, Xue Hao was so anxious that he almost did something desperate. He shouted, "Damn, I've already given my aunt to you. Are you still not satisfied? Big brother, what's the difference between this reward and farting? If anyone could get a woman like your aunt, you wouldn't say this. This is complete bullshit," Qin Shing said disapprovingly. Xue Hao was flustered and exasperated. "Then tell me, what should I do? If you don't think of a way for me, I'll ask my aunt to fire you." Threatening me again?" Qin Shing sneered. Xue Hao quickly said, "Brother, we can talk this out. I'm sorry. I'm puzzled. You're from a big family, you can find anyone to do this kind of thing. Why me?" Qin Shing muttered to himself. "I can do it, but I haven't thought about the reward yet. But if I do it for you, you can't tell anyone." "Okay, no problem." Xue Hao quickly agreed. But he quickly said, "But you have to show me your skills first. Otherwise, all my efforts will be in vain. Believe it or not, go away." Qin Shing immediately turned hostile. Xue Hao said helplessly, Okay. You win. Give me the photos and addresses of the 3 students. You don't have to worry about the rest. They will be obedient when they see you in a few days." Qin Shing was good at doing this kind of thing. He did not need to do it himself. Chang Baji and Hao Lei could handle it. Xue Hao seemed to believe Qin Shing. He quickly agreed and sent the photos and addresses to Qin Shing on WeChat. Qin Shing brought Xue Hao around for an hour. Finally, Xue Hao asked Qin Shing to send him home. He could also treat Qin Shing to a meal and make Qin Shing skip work. Qin Shing had no choice but to agree. After saying goodbye to Mizan, Qin Shing and Xue Hao came out and were about to leave in Xue Qingyan's Land Rover. When Qin Shing got the car, he saw something unexpected. The security manager of Shangshan Ruoshui, Chen Xiangyang, and Su Lanqing were arguing not far away. Chen Xiangyang begged, "Manager Su, lend me 1 million, just 1 million. I promise this will be the last time, definitely the last time." "Old Chen, you still don't know how to repent? Do you know what will happen if Big Boss knows that you are involved in gambling and drugs?" Su Lanqing scolded angrily. Old Chen quickly said, "Manager Su, I beg you, please don't tell Big Boss, or he will definitely ask me to leave." "Do you think Big Boss won't know if I don't tell him?" "Old Chen, everyone can see what state you've been in recently. If you don't want the Big Boss to get angry, I advise you to go find him yourself. As long as he can forgive you, everything can be discussed," said Su Lanqing, exasperated at Chen Feng's failure to live up to his expectations. "Manager Su, if Big Boss knows, he will kill me." Chen Xiangyang was so scared that he could not speak coherently. Xue Hao frowned and stared at them. He could not help but cough. Qin Shing knew that he was in trouble. He pulled Xue Hao and walked 2 steps forward. He smiled and said, "Manager Su, Brother Chen, why are you here?" "Qin Shing, what are you doing here?" Su Lanqing stared at Qin Shing angrily. Chen Xiangyang was also a little flustered. He stared at Qin Shing fiercely, as if he was going to eat Qin Shing alive. Manager Su, Miss Xue asked me to send young Master Xue home, Qin Shing said calmly. Su Lanqing said thoughtfully, "Oh, then go quickly. Don't delay things." When Qin Shing heard this, he hurriedly pulled Xue Hao into the car and left. He thought to himself, "No wonder I felt something was wrong when I saw Chen Xiangyang. So that's what happened. I just don't know if they think I already know about it." Chapter 53. Damn you, I'm a singer. Zhao Lei sang Chengdu, and his WeChat moments and Weibo were flooded with comments. After so many years, he's finally popular. This also reminded me of the past when I was in Chengdu. Everyone knows that Old Guan's Unruly People was written about Chengdu, so I'm going to write an article about Zhao Lei and post it on the official WeChat account. I hope everyone likes it. Qin Shing could not be bothered to think too much about it and left with Xue Hao. He had no intention of snitching to Jiang Xianbang. However, Su Lanqing knew that Qin Shing was close to Jiang Xianbang and would probably be worried about him. Chen Xiangyang definitely did not know about it and might give him a warning later. It would be fine if Chen Xiangyang was polite, but if he played dirty, Qin Shing would not care. Drugs and gambling are useless no matter how much money you have. I've heard many relatives and friends say that many powerful people have been ruined by themselves in the end. Xue Hao and Qin Shing had naturally heard it. Xue Hao muttered softly after they left the house. Since it had nothing to do with him, no one would dare to do anything to him. Qin Shing drove while thinking, "It's good that you know. If I find out about it, I'll help your parents solve this problem first, so that you don't harm your relatives and friends." "You don't have to worry about that, I'll die to repay the world myself," Xue Hao said, but at least he knew that Qin Shing's values were correct. If a person's values were not right, it would be easy for him to go astray no matter how powerful he was. Qin Shing had seen this kind of situation many times over the years. When he was in Guiyang, he met a friend who was considered powerful in Guiyang. At that time, the tallest building in Guiyang, Kempinski Tower, belonged to him. It was a pity that he became addicted to gambling and became more and more arrogant. He stayed in the VVVIP rooms of the major casinos in Macau for a long time and eventually went bankrupt. He did not know what happened to him now. You can't get involved with any poison, it's very likely that you will die. The latter is gambling. It's good to gamble a little, but you have to control yourself. People with poor self-control will gamble more and more. If you gamble too much, you will naturally look down on the small ones and end up miserable, Qin Shing said casually. Xue Hao laughed. "Let's not talk about this, it has nothing to do with us. I'll treat you to dinner today and send you the things when we get back. How long will it take?" "You talk too much. You'll know when you're done," Qin Shing said, glaring at him. Xue Hao asked Qin Shing what he wanted to eat and Qin Shing said he wanted to eat hot pot. Hence, they found a hot pot restaurant in Chengdu. There were too many stories about Qin Shing in Chengdu. He met his confidant in Chengdu and stayed there for a few months. His idol was the master robe of Sichuan and Chongqing. He started from scratch, and went through many trials and tribulations to become the master Zhao of Sichuan and Chongqing. Unfortunately, he completely retired and lived the most ordinary life. However, the two big groups he established became the aircraft carriers of the business world. After finishing the hot pot, Qin Shing did not let Xue Hao treat him to dinner. Xue Hao's family must be well off, but his family was very strict and he definitely did not have much money. Even if he had something he wanted to do, there were many things he wanted to do. Qin Shing would not go so far as to bribe a high school student. However, Xue Hao insisted on paying for it. In the end, Qin Shing said that he would treat him to a big meal after everything was over. Xue Hao finally gave up. "I'm full, Let me send you home. Qin Shing wanted to get rid of this burden as soon as possible so that he could go home and have a good rest. After all, there was a beautiful lady at home. However, Xue Hao did not plan to go home. He smiled and said, I'm not going home first. Send me to Taipei KTV on Ninghai East Road. It's my classmate's birthday tonight and they're going to sing there. I'll go home myself later. Your aunt asked me to send you home, Qin Shing said in a low voice. Xue Hao did not know whether to laugh or cry. Big brother, I'm just going to sing, not to hang out in a bar or a nightclub. Don't worry, I'll go home after I finish singing. It's just a group of students, they won't cause trouble and the three fiends are not there. Pen. Are you sure? Qin Shing asked. Xue Hao nodded and said, yes. Qin Shing had no choice but to send Xue Hao to the KTV first. He guessed that it must be a girl's birthday, otherwise Xue Hao would not be so enthusiastic. Everyone had their youth, Qin Shing had experienced it too. Moreover, he was not Xue Hao's parent, why should he care? Not long after, Qin Shing sent Xue Hao to Ninghai East Road. It was already past 9 o'clock at night. Qin Shing watched Xue Hao go up and left. However, he did not wait for 5 minutes before Xue Hao called him. Qin Shing, come over quickly, we're being beaten up. Which floor? Qin Shing thought that Xue Hao was teasing him, but it did not sound like it. He did not dare to ask further and said straightforwardly. Xue Hao said, how dare you call me? Then he heard Xue Hao's vague voice saying that he was on the 3rd floor. Then the phone was hung up. Qin Shing panicked. If something were to happen to Xue Hao, Ms. Chong Sam would kill him. If that happened, he would not be able to stay in Shangshan Ruoshui anymore. Although it was because of Jiang Xianbang, it was still too embarrassing. Therefore, Qin Shing did not hesitate to turn around and kill Ms. Chong Sam. When Xue Hao found his private room in the Taipei Pure K corridor, he found 4 of his classmates surrounded by 7 or 8 men. All of them had drunk quite a lot and were talking dirty. Xue Hao knew that 2 of his classmates were from rich families and were usually quite arrogant. However, they were on good terms with him, so he was not afraid of them. Furthermore, his goddess was having her birthday party tonight, so they were not willing to admit defeat. Xue Hao did not drink, so he went up to persuade them. Who knew that he would be pushed away? Xue Hao did not pay attention to his feet and fell to the ground. Seeing that these people dared to hit him, the 4 classmates went up to fight without hesitation. It did not matter if they could win or not, but they were not afraid. When Xue Hao came back to his senses, the corridor was already in chaos. Xue Hao's heart skipped a beat. What was going on? He did not want to get into trouble, but now he was in trouble. There were only 5 of them, and the other party was tall and strong. Xue Hao did not have the time to call Qin Shing, but he was discovered. After hanging up, Xue Hao realized that the 3 girls in the room had heard the commotion outside and came out. One of them was his goddess. She was so scared that she covered her mouth and turned pale. Xue Hao did not care anymore. If he was going to be scolded later, so be it. He shouted at the 3 girls to go in and rushed forward. For a moment, the whole corridor was in chaos. However, the 5 students were no match for this group of people. Not long after, they were all beaten to the ground. Surrounded by 7 or 8 men, Xue Hao tried to protect his face from injury. He was still holding onto a glimmer of hope. Unfortunately, he was still punched. Aren't you guys very powerful? Get up and fight, the leader shouted. The 5 students did not dare to talk back. Xue Hao was cursing in his heart, but he did not dare to be arrogant. He was not an idiot and had some EQ. He knew that this was not the time to stand out. He prayed that Qin Shing would contact his aunt quickly. If his aunt could help them, these things would not be a problem and they would not have to suffer anymore. Brother, it's our fault. We apologize to you. We're all friends and we just drank a little. Please don't take it to heart. Shui Hao stood up and said calmly after the man had finished scolding him. He did not seem angry at all. His father had always taught him to stay calm whenever he encountered a problem, not to be afraid of it, and not to run away from it. Instead, he had to find a way to solve it. We didn't do anything wrong. Motherf *Ker, beat me to death if you dare. As long as you don't kill me, I will definitely take revenge. Shui Hao dared to finish his sentence. Who knew that the rich young master from a rich family would curse again? Shui Hao felt like killing someone. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, he received a kick. It hurt so much that he grimaced in pain. Looks like you all have some background. Fine, I'll give you a chance. Call for help now and we will stand here. Whoever is afraid is a coward, the leader laughed unscrupulously. In the private room, Shui Hao's goddess and 2 other female classmates were so scared that they did not dare to come out. They had already called the police, but no one dared to tell their families. The security guards of the KTV had also called the police. They wanted to come over but were scolded by the men. If they did not want to cause trouble, they would be beaten up too. Hearing the man's words, Shui Hao knew that he was not an ordinary person. But he endured it and hoped that it would be a small matter. He smiled and said, "Brother, you don't have to do this. We will apologize and compensate you, as long as you are satisfied." "Fine. Come on, then kowtow to me 3 times. The man pointed at Shui Hao and said. Shui Hao was too talkative, but he had to solve the problem. Shui Hao was not a reckless person. This made Shui Hao a little angry, but he tried to keep his temper and said, "Brother, don't joke around. Why don't you kowtow to me?" The man scolded and raised his hand to slap Shui Hao. No one knew when Qin Sheng had arrived at the scene, but he was not in a hurry to make a move. Seeing Shui Hao's fearless face, he had a whole new level of respect for him. Shui Hao was no longer the coward who was beaten up by the 3 high school gangsters. Qin Sheng grabbed the man's arm and said, "Brother, it's enough. There's no need to fight with a few students." The man did not expect that someone would dare to stand up at this time. Both ends of the corridor were full of onlookers, staff and security guards. No one dared to approach, and those who tried were scared away. The man was not even 30 years old. He slowly turned around and looked at Qin Sheng. He wanted to know who dared to stop him. After seeing who it was, he sneered and said, "Who do you think you are? Let go of me." "Qin Sheng, you're finally here. Have you called my aunt?" Shui Hao shouted in relief when he saw Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng was stunned for a moment and shook his head. I forgot. Shui Hao was dumbfounded. He wanted to cry but had no tears. He shouted in his heart, "F***CKU. At this time, Qin Sheng came back to his senses and let go of the man's arm. Who knew that after Qin Sheng let go of him, the man threw a punch at Qin Sheng without saying a word. Unfortunately, Qin Sheng was prepared. He bent down and dodged the punch. He hit the man's chest with his knee, grabbed the man's shoulder and threw him away. He said disapprovingly, "Can't we talk it out? Why did you hit me?" The other 6 or 7 men saw that Qin Sheng dared to hit him and rushed at him without hesitation. Qin Sheng was not afraid at all. It was just a fight. Who was afraid of who? Chapter 54. Interested, Qin Sheng did not care about the immensity of heaven and earth. Since Ms. Chong Sam was there to clean up after him, it would not be a big deal no matter how bad it was. However, he had to get revenge for Shui Hao. Needless to say, Qin Sheng's martial arts skills could force Chang Baji, who was a guru, to take him seriously. Wouldn't it be a piece of cake for him to deal with 7 or 8 men who were wasted by alcohol and women? Qin Sheng stood at the same spot, fearless in the face of danger. He dealt with the 7 or 8 men in front of him with ease. They were already drunk and had trouble moving their legs, so it was even easier for Qin Sheng to deal with them. In just a few minutes, all 7 or 8 men were beaten to the ground by Qin Sheng. The scene was like a movie, making the onlookers exclaim in excitement. Xue Hao had wanted to ask a few of his classmates to help him. Even if they did not help him, he would not hesitate to rush forward. He was usually low-key and cowardly, but when it came to real trouble, he would not abandon his teammates. However, he realized that he did not even need to do anything. Qin Sheng alone was no match for him. Xue Hao's eyes widened when he saw Qin Sheng's dazzling movements. It was only now that he understood that Qin Sheng was not bragging. He was really a master. After the fight, Qin Sheng heaved a sigh of relief and said in a low-key tone, "I told you to talk nicely. Why did you have to be so violent? Now you regret it, right?" After such a long time, the patrolling police finally arrived in time. Anyway, no matter what, everyone was taken away. The 3 girls did not get involved in this matter. Before Xue Hao left, he threw his phone to the goddess and said, "Call my aunt and tell her I was beaten up." The goddess nodded weakly and quickly searched for Xue Hao's aunt's number. In a private room in Changshan Ruoshui, Xue Qinyan, who was elegant in front of her friends, was drinking red wine and chatting with a few friends. They were working on something and now only needed venture capital. Xue Qinyan thought that Xue Hao was going to say that he had reached home, so she hung up. She usually did not pick up the phone when discussing business, unless it was a prior appointment. The campus belle who was hung up was anxious and called Xue Hao again. Xue Qinyan's phone buzzed and she frowned when she saw that it was Xue Hao. Xue Qinyan knew Xue Qinyan's habits well. She knew that Xue Hao would not call her again after hanging up and she would return the call later. If he called her again, it meant that something was up. "Qinyan, what's the matter?" asked an old man in his 60s with a smile. Xue Qinyan said embarrassedly, "Mr. Zheng, you guys talk first. I'll go out to take a call." "How, are you home?" Xue Qinyan answered the phone lovingly with a smile on her face. The campus belle said anxiously, "Hello, Auntie. I'm Xue Hao's classmate, Zhu Dan." Xue Hao was beaten up and taken away by the police. "He asked me to call you." Xue Qinyan was a little confused when she heard the voice of a strange girl on the other end of the phone. After listening to the girl's words, Xue Qinyan's face darkened and she asked directly, "Where are you now?" "I'm at Taipei Pure K on Ninghai East Road," Zhu Dan said with red eyes. When had she ever encountered such a thing? She had always been a good girl. "I'm on my way." Xue Qinyan hung up the phone after saying this. After that, she went back to the private room and told her friends and elders that she had to leave because of an emergency. They were all close friends, so they did not say anything. After that, she looked for Su Lanqing angrily and asked him to contact Qin Sheng immediately. She wanted Qin Sheng to send Xue Hao home. How could Xue Hao be in such a situation? If anything happened to him, she would definitely find Qin Sheng to settle the score. After listening to Xue Qinyan, Su Lanqing became anxious and quickly said, "Qinyan, don't worry. I'll find a way to contact him now." However, no matter if it was Su Lanqing or Mizan, Qin Sheng's phone could not be connected. Su Lanqing could only ask them to continue calling Qin Sheng. He immediately called Xue Hao and the others to ask where they had been taken. Not long after, he got the answer. Jinling East Road Police Station. After that, he accompanied Xue Qinyan to the police station. On the way, Xue Qinyan and Su Lanqing called their friends, who immediately notified them. Therefore, not long after Qin Sheng, Xue Hao and the rest were brought to the police station. Everything was fine. The deputy police chief on duty respectfully brought them to the resting room. As for the rest of the gang, they were all handcuffed and interrogated. "May I know who is Mr. Xue?" The deputy superintendent was very young. He asked with a smile as he poured tea for them. He even asked the police on duty to clean their wounds. Xue Hao said calmly, "I am. Miss Xue and Mr. Su will be here soon. Sorry to trouble you." It was somewhat comical for a deputy superintendent to address a kid as Mr. Xue Hao was not used to this kind of situation, but he had seen too many high-ranking officials and nobles. A deputy superintendent was not a big deal to him. He waved his hand and said, "Go ahead, I'll call you if there's anything." This made the deputy superintendent feel cold. However, he would not stoop to a kid's level. He smiled awkwardly and was about to leave when Qin Sheng said, "Superintendent Liu, sorry to trouble you tonight." "It's nothing, it's what I should do. I'll go ahead." Superintendent Liu smiled and left. Qin Sheng secretly remembered how the police called him just now. After Superintendent Liu left, Qin Sheng took out his phone and found that there were many missed calls. He knew that Shangshan Ruoshui knew about this and immediately called Su Lanqing back. Su Lanqing heaved a sigh of relief when he received Qin Sheng's call. Due to the taboo between Qin Sheng and Jiang Xianbang, he suppressed his anger and said, "Qin Sheng, you finally picked up the phone. What's going on?" Before Qin Sheng could answer, Xue Qinyan had already grabbed the phone and asked fiercely, "Where's Xue Hao?" "Qin Sheng, I'm warning you, if anything happens to Xue Hao, I won't forgive you." Qin Sheng could not be bothered to talk nonsense. He directly handed the phone to Xue Hao and said, "Your aunt." "Aunt, I'm fine. This has nothing to do with Qin Sheng." Xue Hao took the phone and quickly explained. He knew that his aunt would definitely blame Qin Sheng. A few minutes later, Xue Hao finished the call and came in. He smiled at Qin Sheng and said, "I've explained to Aunt, everything is fine now." Qin Sheng did not care about these trivial matters at all, and did not say anything. After a while, 2 police officers came in and did a simple record of the incident. The incident was actually very simple. They had drunk too much and accidentally bumped into each other. After a few words, they got into trouble. Half an hour later, Xue Qinyan and Su Lanqing rushed over after Qin Sheng smoked 2 cigarettes and drank a cup of tea. A few leaders of the police station received them cautiously and then led them over. When Xue Hao saw his aunt, he quickly ran over and said, "Aunt, I'm sorry for making you worry." Xue Qinyan was very distressed when Xue Hao was beaten up. She held his arm and said, "Little Hao, are you hurt?" "Aunt, I'm fine." Xue Hao chuckled. "How are your classmates?" Xue Qinyan was the second to show concern. Xue Hao pointed at them and said, "Just some minor injuries, nothing serious." Xue Qinyan looked at Xue Hao's classmates and realized that they were all in a worse state than Xue Hao. Each of them had a bloody nose and swollen face. She turned to the leaders of the police station behind her and said, "Chief Qin, I don't need to say more about what to do. If they are capable, let them come to me. I'd like to see who would dare to plead for them." "Miss Xue, don't worry. Chief Song has already instructed us, we know what to do." The police chief, who rushed over, smiled apologetically. Such a thing happened in his territory and they were reprimanded by the leaders. He would definitely not let those bastards go. Moreover, the leaders of the municipal bureau were there to take care of it. As Xue Hao's aunt, Xue Qinyan asked about the other students out of concern. Finally, she looked at Qin Sheng, who was standing at the side. Qin Sheng looked calm as if nothing had happened. Xue Qinyan walked over slowly and said, "Qin Sheng, I'm sorry, on the phone just now, it's okay." Qin Sheng said casually. Xue Qinyan continued, "Thank you for tonight, if not." Xue Qinyan wanted to say more, but Qin Sheng said directly, "Miss Xue, if there's nothing else, I'll leave first. I'll drive the car over for you." Qin Sheng's words made Xue Qinyan speechless. Su Lanqing, who was beside her, smiled bitterly and shook his head. He was not clear about Qin Sheng's background yet, but he could feel that this young man was proud and arrogant. Sometimes he seemed to be approachable, but he kept an appropriate distance from everyone. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Su Lanqing said, "All right, Qin Sheng, there's nothing else for you to do here. Help Mississippi Shwe drive the car over and you can go back. Okay. Qin Shing nodded and left without saying goodbye to Shwe Hao. Shwe Qinyan looked at Qin Shing's back and found it funny. Qin Shing was different from others. If he was an ordinary person, he would definitely take advantage of this incident to get closer to her. But Qin Shing seemed to be deliberately keeping a distance from her. Thinking about what happened that day, she was interested in Qin Shing. Old Su, who recruited Qin Shing? Shwe Qinyan asked with interest. This sentence put Su Lanqing in a difficult position. But Mr. Jiang did not seem to tell him not to reveal the information. Qin Shing did not want others to know about his relationship with Jiang Xianbang. He smiled bitterly and said, what else can't be said? Shwe Qinyan saw Su Lanqing's expression and was puzzled. Su Lanqing hesitated. In the end, he kicked the ball back to Qin Shing and said, "You'd better ask Qin Shing himself. I promised him something." "Okay, then I won't make things difficult for you." When Shwe Qinyan heard this, she basically understood that it was definitely not Su Lanqing who recruited them. It must be the other 5 VVIP members besides her, including Jiang Xianbang. After staying at the police station for about half an hour, the matter was settled. During this time, Qin Shing drove Shwe Qinyan's Land Rover back. He asked a policeman to give her the key and took a taxi. When he returned to Thompson Golf, Han Bing was still waiting for Qin Shing. When she saw him, she asked, "Why are you back so late tonight?" "Something came up." "Why are you not sleeping yet?" Qin Shing replied with a smile. Han Bing was naturally waiting for Qin Shing, but she was embarrassed to say it directly. She was like a little wife waiting for her husband to come home. She said casually, "I worked overtime for a while and am ready to sleep." "Then sleep early." Qin Shing was a little tired and smiled. She then said, "I've found a house for you, it's on Hunan South Road. I asked a friend to find it. The rent is not expensive. It's close to your workplace and the 9-mile bund. If you have time tomorrow, go and take a look. If it's not bad, you can move in. I'm also preparing to move back." "Okay, I will go out with you tomorrow morning and take a look." Qin Shing did not have time to find a house. Since Han Bing had helped them solve it, he did not need to trouble himself. Han Bing did not wait for Qin Shing to thank her and got up with a smile. "I am going to bed first." "You should sleep early too." Qin Shing nodded, but he was thinking about something. The next morning, Qin Shing and Han Bing went out together. They first sent Han Bing to work, and then they went to look at the house. The house was fully furnished and could be moved in directly. The 3 of them were quite satisfied and planned to move in after Han Bing moved back. Chapter 55. Ambiguous. Today, I calculated carefully. I actually did not update for half a month before and after the new year. This made me very disappointed. Too many things have happened. I hope everything goes well and nothing happens again. Right well. In the end, only a few people knew about what had happened last night. When he returned to Thompson Golf Resort, Shwe Hao sent him a text message. It was just 2 words of thanks. Qin Shing pursed his lips into a smile and did not reply. Qin Shing did not like the rain very much, especially this kind of autumn rain. It was easy to make people feel sad and sleepy. He liked the kind of snowy days, where the snow was boundless and majestic. In the past, when he was in Zhongnan Mountains, when the weather was slightly cold, it would snow heavily in Zhongnan Mountains. That kind of feeling was destined to not be found in Shanghai. Moreover, the snow in the south really did not arouse people's interest. Shangshan Ruoshui in the rain gave people a feeling of returning to the period of the Republic of China. If Ms. Chong Sam walked on the bluestone path with an umbrella at this time, Qin Shing felt that the scene would be really wonderful. Chen Xiangnan seemed to have been waiting for Qin Shing. His face was still very ugly, his body was thin, and the dark circles under his eyes were getting more and more serious. When Qin Shing walked in, he snorted coldly. Qin Shing, can I borrow a place to talk? Qin Shing did not refuse and directly followed him to the pavilion in the back garden. Chen Xiangyang handed Qin Shing a cigarette. He was from Sunan and liked to smoke Sunan cigarette. Qin Shing politely lit up for the two of them and said in a small voice, "Brother Chen, what's the matter?" "Nothing much. As the manager of the security department, I just wanted to ask if you have any suggestions since you have been here for a while." Chen Xiangyang used this reason to start the conversation, and the atmosphere was still relatively relaxed. Qin Shing naturally would not undermine him. He smiled and said, "To be honest, I really do not know about these things and really do not have any suggestions. But the security of Shangshan Ruoshui has let me see the world." "Are you used to Shangshan Ruoshui?" Chen Xiangyang smiled and nodded. From time to time, he looked around for fear that someone would see them. "Brother Chen, I am quite good here. No work can compare to Shangshan Ruoshui. The benefits are not comparable." That's good, that's good." Chen Xiangyang smiled bitterly, but he didn't know what to say. Qin Shing did not reply. The atmosphere became a little awkward. In the end, Chen Xiangyang could not help but say, "Qin Shing, I'd better tell you the truth. It was Manager Su who asked me to come to you. Last night, Manager Su and I were talking about some confidential matters. Did you hear it?" After that, Chen Xiangyang stared at Qin Shing, trying to figure out if he was telling the truth or not. Qin Shing was stunned for a moment, then he suddenly realized and said, "Oh, Brother Chen, are you talking about the time I saw you and Manager Su when I was sending Master Shui out last night?" "Yes," Chen Xiangyang snorted. Qin Shing continued, "At that time, young Master Shui and I were thinking about what to eat for dinner. Young Master Shui wanted to treat me to dinner. I really didn't hear what you said. If you don't believe me, you can ask young Master Shui." "You really didn't hear anything?" Chen Xiangyang was doubtful. Qin Shing said firmly, "I really didn't hear anything." Chen Xiangyang stared at Qin Shing for a while, which made Qin Shing's hair stand. After a while, he said thoughtfully, "Qin Shing, I don't know if you're telling the truth or not. It's best if you didn't hear it. If you did, I hope you can keep it to yourself. Otherwise, it may cause trouble." "Oh, Brother Chen, how can I lie to you? I really didn't hear it. At that time, you and Manager Su were so far away from us," Qin Shing quickly explained. "All right, I got it. You can go." Chen Xiangyang was too lazy to talk nonsense with Qin Shing and directly waved his hand. Qin Shing was relieved and quickly left. In his heart, he muttered that Chen Xiangyang would leave Shangshan Ruoshui sooner or later. It was better for him to keep a distance from him. As for what Chen Xiangyang said, it was Su Lanqing who asked him to come. This was completely nonsense. Su Lanqing was eager to tell on him. Why would he ask Chen Xiangyang to come? Su Lanqing used his but to think that Chen Xiangyang would come. Gambling and drugs really killed people. The treatment and conditions in Shangshan Ruoshui were so good. Not only could Chen Xiangyang make friends here, but he could also get a high salary. But he chose the wrong path. Qin Shing went to the office area to change clothes and prepare for work. When he went out, he met Sister An. She was wearing a sexy gray dress and gray stockings. Sister An was still so sexy and charming. She was probably the object of many men in Shangshan Ruoshui. "Qin Shing, you scared me last night. I thought something big happened." After Qin Shing came out, Sister An patted Qin Shing's chest and said coquettishly. Qin Shing had goosebumps all over his body. He said, "Does Sister An know?" "Manager Su told me. You didn't answer my call. Really, you can't be like this in the future." Qin Shing smiled and said, "Okay, Sister An is on call in the future. That's more like it. But I heard that you are good at fighting. 1 against 8. I think you should go to the security department. You can directly be the deputy manager of the security department." Sister An teased Qin Shing. Qin Shing laughed and said, "Can you bear for me to leave?" If you are good in bed, I will definitely be reluctant to leave you. Sister An leaned forward, showing her chest, and said, not afraid of being seen by others. Qin Shing obediently admitted that he was afraid of this old woman. This old woman was too powerful. It was better to stay away from her. He quickly said, Sister An, I'm going to work. After that, Qin Shing left awkwardly, leaving behind Sister An, who kept laughing. This was the difference between a young man and a young woman. In the following 2 days, Qin Shing's life was as peaceful as water. He continued to learn from Liu Yuan. With his ability, he naturally made rapid progress. Mizan praised him a lot in the reception department. Moreover, Qin Shing knew geomancy, history of antiques, and so on, so he had a natural advantage in decorating. Especially during this period, there was a time when he hung a string of jade seeds on a water feature, which made the expert member praise it very much. He directly asked who designed it. When he found out that it was just an ordinary child, he was even more surprised and praised Qin Shing a lot. This made Qin Shing stand out in the reception department a lot, and naturally attracted a lot of gossip. On Sunday, Qin Shing was on leave. They first helped Han Bing move back to Huarun 9-mile Wantan, then packed their luggage and moved into their new home. It was located in the Shilin Huayuan district on Fuxing East Road. It was a high-rise with 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms. The location was excellent and the view was wide. It was very convenient to go to Huarun 9-mile Wantan or Sinan Road. However, the rent was only 8,000 yuan. It was because it was Han Bing's friend's house that it was much cheaper than other houses of the same type. Even so, Qin Shing still felt that the rent in Shanghai was really damn expensive. Han Bing happened to be free, so she helped Qin Shing and the others to clean up. The 4 of them had a clear division of labor. In only 2 hours, the whole house looked brand new. Then they ran to the supermarket to buy a lot of daily necessities. When they finished, it was already evening. Han Bing originally wanted to go out for dinner to celebrate Qin Shing and the others moving, but Qin Shing said that he would cook today, which surprised Han Bing. She did not expect that Qin Shing could really cook. Han Bing wanted to help, but Qin Shing and the others insisted on not letting her into the kitchen. The 3 men crowded in the kitchen to cook dinner, while Han Bing had nothing to do, so she sat on the sofa and watched TV. In the kitchen, Hao Lei glanced at Han Bing, who was wearing sportswear and had a graceful figure in the living room. He said to Qin Shing, Old Qin, Miss Han obviously likes you. Why don't you just give in? In the future, the 2 of us will follow you and live well. In the past, Miss Han was unruly, willful and unreasonable. When did she become a good wife and loving mother? This was all Qin Shing's credit. Qin Shing stared at him and said, Get lost, I sell my skills, not my body. You F***er, you're still pretending to be obedient. You don't know how lucky you are. You won't be able to find a wife like Miss Han even if you have a lantern. Why don't you take a look at yourself? If she doesn't despise you, then you should be thanking the heavens. Hao Lei said resentfully. Chang Baji also agreed. Hao Lei is right, Han Bing is a good girl, the 2 of you are quite compatible. Brother Chang, I don't want to think about this now, let's talk about it later. Qin Shing shook his head and smiled. He turned back and looked at Han Bing. Since Qin Shing said that he liked long hair, Han Bing stopped cutting her hair and started to keep it long. However, there was no change until now. Actually, Qin Shing did not want Han Bing to change herself to please others. Han Bing felt that someone was looking at her. She subconsciously looked towards the kitchen and happened to meet Qin Shing's eyes. Qin Shing pursed his lips and smiled. Han Bing blushed in embarrassment and quickly turned her head to continue watching TV. An hour later, the 3 men finally made dinner. There were 6 dishes and 1 soup. Qin Shing was in charge, while Chang Baji and Hao Lei helped. Wow, did you guys really make this? Han Bing stared at the delicious dishes on the table and said in surprise. Hao Lei said proudly, Of course, you can come here more often in the future. Anyway, Qin Sheng has nothing to do after work. Do you welcome me? Han Bing stared at Qin Sheng and asked. Chang Baji laughed and joked, only you are welcome here, no one else can come in. Chang Baji was implying, don't worry, we will help you keep an eye on Qin Sheng and won't let him bring other women back. After the four of them sat down, Qin Sheng was going to send Han Bing back later, and only drank orange juice. Han Bing accompanied Chang Baji and Hao Lei to drink beer. She opened the can and raised her glass. Welcome to your new home. I hope you guys will get better and better in the future. Cheers. Thank you, I also hope you will get prettier. Cheers. Cheers. Everyone happily ate and chatted. Han Bing was getting more and more used to such an atmosphere. She treated Qin Sheng and the rest as friends, not as servants or subordinates at all. In the past, to be honest, she did not have many true friends. Since her father's accident, the number of friends around her became fewer and fewer. She also learned about the fickleness of the world and the fickleness of human nature. However, she had never been disappointed. She accepted everything calmly. Whose life would be smooth sailing? Whose life was just a scenery? After dinner, Chang Baji and Hao Lei said that they would wash the dishes and clean up the mess, and let Qin Sheng and Han Bing chat for a while. Qin Sheng was really impressed by these two. They tried their best to matchmake him and Han Bing. After drinking, Han Bing's face was red and her eyes were a little blurred. She stared at Qin Sheng without any hesitation. The atmosphere was a little ambiguous. Qin Sheng really could not stand it, so he let Han Bing watch TV first while he went back to the room to make the bedsheet. Han Bing did not stay. She followed closely behind and ran in. Not knowing if it was because she was drunk or subconsciously, Han Bing suddenly hugged Qin Sheng's waist from behind and pressed her face against Qin Sheng's back. Chapter 56. Poaching, Ride Hard Despite Being Sick. Everyone, please vote for me. Collect and support me. Hao Lei came out to wipe the table and accidentally saw this scene. He was very excited and smiled like a kid who had just received a big red flower. He tiptoed back to the kitchen and pointed at the master bedroom. That expression was really funny. Chang Baji, who was washing the dishes, did not understand and asked, "What's wrong with you? Was your head kicked by a donkey?" "No, they're hugging each other over there." Hao Lei pointed to the room and said softly. Chang Baji was instantly surprised and said, "What, really? Shu, lower your voice. Do you think I'm lying to you? Then do you think we should leave when dry wood meets fire? If not, let's go out and get a room tonight?" Chang Baji came back to his senses and said. But why did his words sound strange? "Let's stroll downstairs for a while, and make some space for the couple." Hao Lei agreed with Chang Baji's suggestion and the two left without hesitation. They quietly closed the door and did not make any sound. In the room, the atmosphere was really ambiguous. Qin Sheng let Han Bing hug him like this. He could smell the faint perfume on Han Bing's mountain and feel Han Bing's soft breast. Han Bing told Qin Sheng that morning that she felt that she liked Qin Sheng. At that time, Qin Sheng did not respond because he thought that Han Bing's love might be just out of gratitude, or because when she was lonely and helpless, he stood up and helped her to repay her kindness. Qin Sheng did not like this feeling. It made people feel like he was taking advantage of the situation. The love he wanted was a slow and steady flow, just like how he and Su Qin knew each other and fell in love. However, Qin Sheng did not break away from Han Bing's embrace. A girl made him muster up his courage to do this kind of thing. He could not accept it, but he had to cooperate. What's wrong? Did something happen? Qin Sheng felt that he would suffocate if he did not speak, so he tried to find a topic to talk about. Han Bing shook her head and said, "No, I just want to hug you, so that I can feel more secure." From today onwards, Han Bing would be completely separated from Qin Sheng. In the past month, they had experienced too many things. Han Bing felt as if they had known Qin Shing for many years. Other than the time when Qin Shing went to work, they were almost inseparable. Even if Qin Shing went to work, he would come back every night and they could still talk. However, from today onwards they might not be that close anymore. They could only see each other a few times a week. She couldn't possibly come over every day. Qin Shing really did not know how to respond to Han Bing's words. He could only slowly turn around and face Han Bing. He chuckled and said, "Everything has passed. For you, a new life has just begun." Today, Han Bing was dressed in sportswear and sneakers. Coupled with her height of 1.7 meters, she was only a little shorter than Qin Shing, so she could look directly at Qin Shing. Their eyes met. Han Bing looked at Qin Shing affectionately. However, Qin Shing was suddenly at a loss. Han Bing hugged Qin Shing tightly. Her eyes were as gentle as water as she slowly walked towards Qin Shing. Qin Shing was stunned. He seemed to have realized what was going to happen. When he wanted to dodge, Han Bing's seductive little mouth had already kissed him. This was Han Bing's greatest courage. Qin Shing was completely stunned. He did not expect such a thing to happen. Han Bing was definitely the kind of woman who was clean and pure. So far, she had only had one boyfriend. Other than holding hands, she did not even kiss a few times. The two of them broke up not long after, so her kissing skills were naturally not very good. But even so, Han Bing still controlled the initiative. She took the initiative to stick out her tongue and waited for Qin Shing's love. Qin Shing was a normal man. With Su Xiang in his arms, unless it was the current Lu Xiaohui, it was impossible for a normal man to not have any thoughts. Not to mention a beauty like Han Bing who had both looks and temperament. Therefore, Qin Shing could no longer control the hormones in his body. He hugged Han Bing and responded unscrupulously. For a moment, the room was full of spring, leaving only the sound of the two of them panting. Han Bing's whole body softened and fell into Qin Shing's arms. Qin Shing wantonly enjoyed Han Bing's peachy little mouth and fragrant tongue. He caressed Han Bing's back, feeling the curve and warmth there. After a long time, when the two of them were out of breath, Qin Shing then separated Han Bing. He was afraid that he could not control himself and really did something to Han Bing. Unfortunately, there were still Chang Baji and Hao Lei here. Thinking of this, Qin Shing instantly came back to his senses. Han Bing looked at Qin Shing with a face full of spring and laughed out loud. Obviously, she was also aroused tonight. "What are you laughing at?" Qin Shing asked puzzledly. Han Bing smiled and said, "I thought you were really a fool and did not get close to women." "Do you believe that I will do it on the spot?" Qin Shing said fiercely, but he did not believe what he said. Han Bing deliberately puffed out her chest and said disapprovingly, "This is exactly what I want. Vixen, stop seducing me." Qin Shing raised his hands in surrender. Han Bing covered her mouth and could not stop laughing. Qin Shing thought of the two people outside and said, "It's getting late, let me send you back." Okay. Han Bing also knew that even if she wanted to do something, this was not the right place. Chang Baji and Hao Lei were still outside. She did not know if they saw the scene just now. If they did, how embarrassed she would be in the future. However, when the two of them came out, they found that Chang Baji and Hao Lei had already disappeared. This made the two of them quite confused. Qin Shing immediately called Hao Lei and asked, "Where have you been?" "Oh, we made room for you." "No, we came out to buy some fruit." Hao Lei laughed and explained. Qin Shing laughed and scolded, "Go to hell. Bing Bing is going back. You guys wait downstairs." When Qin Shing and Han Bing went downstairs, Chang Baji and Hao Lei were already waiting at the door. Hao Lei really bought some fruit. He waved at Qin Shing and said, "Big brother, I really went to buy some fruits. Go away." Qin Shing still did not know why the two of them came out. They must have found something. Chang Baji was a veteran. He deliberately teased, "Bing Bing is going back. Qin Shing, the night is long, you enjoy it slowly." We won't wait for you. Be careful. Chang Baji's words made Han Bing completely blush. Who asked him to be so direct? Hao Lei, who was next to him, had already laughed, as if it was none of his business. Qin Xing knew that he did not dare to stay any longer. Who knew what Chang Baji would say? He directly pulled Han Bing and left. On the way, Qin Xing drove honestly. Han Bing looked at Qin Xing without blinking. Her eyes were full of tenderness. It was said that whether you liked someone or not, you could tell from the look in his eyes. If you really liked someone, your eyes would definitely be shining. At this moment, Han Bing was like that. After getting off the car, Qin Xing sent Han Bing all the way downstairs. Han Bing shamelessly held Qin Xing's arm. The two of them really looked like a couple. Qin Xing still let Han Bing do this. Maybe he was slowly accepting her. When they were downstairs, Qin Xing stopped and said, "Go up and sleep early. Don't you want to go up and sit for a while?" Han Bing bit her lower lip, revealing a little fox's light. Qin Xing coughed awkwardly. Even an experienced driver knew what this meant. If he really went up, then something big would happen. So he stared at Han Bing and said, "Stop it." Han Bing smiled and said, "Then I'll go up. Go." Qin Xing waved his hand. Before Han Bing left, she ambushed Qin Xing again. She left an affectionate kiss on his cheek, and then quickly ran away from the battlefield. After taking 2 steps, she was happy like a little girl who got full marks in a test. She began to hum a little song, and with her back facing Qin Xing, she waved her hand and shouted, "Good night." That look was extremely cute. Qin Xing did not know whether to laugh or cry. But he was very pleased. This was like the Han Bing when he first met her. She lived her own life and lived a wonderful life. A new week had begun. For most people, the pressure of survival in this city was too great, especially for outsiders. It was especially difficult for them to make a name for themselves here. But for Qin Xing, all the pressure was a challenge. If things were too smooth, it would be really boring. He liked the feeling of going against the current. There were all kinds of meetings on Monday mornings in any company. Shangshan Ruoshui was no different. First was the company meeting, followed by the meetings of various departments. But what surprised everyone the most today was that the manager of the security department, Chen Xiangyang, did not appear. Many people were chattering about something. The management structure of Shangshan Ruoshui was very simple. Su Lanqing was fully in charge. There was no deputy general manager, followed by the various department managers and deputy managers. So it was very unusual that Chen Xiangyang did not appear. Sure enough, when Su Lanqing went on stage to speak, the first thing he did was to announce that the security manager, Chen Xiangyang, resigned due to family reasons. The security manager would be temporarily replaced by Yuan Hua. When the news came out, everyone was in an uproar. Qin Xing smiled faintly. This was expected, but he did not know who told Jiang Xianbang. After the company meeting ended, the department meeting began. Although Qin Xing was learning reception and security, he was more inclined to the reception department. Moreover, he had a better relationship with the reception department. Most importantly, the reception department was full of beauties, while the security department was a bunch of F*king gays. In the reception department there was a manager and 2 deputy managers. The 2 deputy managers were all promoted from young masters and artists. Sister and had praised Qin Xing a lot and asked everyone to learn from him. This naturally caused a group of old people to be dissatisfied, just as Liu Yuan had said. When it was almost noon, Su Lanqing suddenly found Qin Xing and said, "Mr. Jiang wants you to go over." Qin Xing was a little surprised. It was noon and he had not even eaten lunch. Why would Jiang Xianbang look for him? Could it be that he wanted to greet the basic employees? Qin Xing took a taxi to Jiang Xianbang's garden house and was led in by the housekeeper. Jiang Xianbang was sitting in the dining room. The talented lady Qing was also there. The table was very sumptuous, as if waiting for Qin Xing. Qin Sheng did not pay attention to Jiang Xianbang. He just smiled and nodded to greet the beautiful Qing Er. The long-haired Qing Er did not have a good impression of Qin Sheng, so she just gave him a perfunctory smile. "Why do you act like I'm your enemy?" Jiang Xianbang said very discontentedly. Qin Sheng curled his lips and said, "You're looking for me, there's definitely nothing good." "What do you mean by nothing good?" "I'm just asking how you're doing in Shangshan Ruoshui." Jiang Xianbang laughed and said, "You must be hungry. Let's eat first, let's talk while eating." Qin Sheng picked up the chopsticks and did not care anymore. He ate like a whirlwind. He was really hungry. When the bowl of rice was empty, Jiang Xianbang slowly asked, "Do you know about Shangshan Ruoshui?" "What?" Qin Sheng was puzzled. "About Chen Xiangyang. That bastard not only gambles but also takes drugs. He was fired by me. Su Lanqing said that you know about it." Jiang Xianbang was born unorthodox and had a gangster's temperament. He said directly. Qin Sheng casually said, "Oh. This matter had nothing to do with him. But it was really Su Lanqing who said it." But it was also true that Chen Xiangyang's matter could not be kept. If he did not take the initiative to tell Jiang Xianbang, he would probably suffer if Jiang Xianbang found out first. Jiang Xianbang squinted his eyes and laughed. "Now Shangshan Ruoshui needs a manager of the security department. Do you have a suitable candidate to recommend?" "How can I have a suitable candidate?" Qin Sheng looked up and found it funny. He was not this type of talent. Jiang Xianbang drank a mouthful of soup and said slowly, "I think your friend Chang Baji is not bad." Chapter 57. A Sneak Attack, wishing everyone a happy Lantern Festival, good health, and everything goes well. Jiang Xianbang had heard about Chang Baji from Qin Sheng. A master who could be invited by Qin Sheng from Xi'an was definitely not simple, not to mention that he had done so many things with Qin Sheng. In fact, Jiang Xianbang had known about Chen Xiangnan some time ago, but he had not said anything. After all, Chen Xiangnan was a veteran of Shangshan Ruoshui. Jiang Xianbang wanted to give him a chance, but this dog did not repent and became worse. At the same time, he also wanted to see Su Lanqing's choice on this big issue. If he really chose to cover up for Chen Xiangnan, then Jiang Xianbang would be disappointed with him. Fortunately, Su Lanqing took the initiative to report to him. He also gave Su Lanqing a warning and took the opportunity to fire Chen Xiangnan. How could they allow such a scum to exist in Shangshan Ruoshui? But now that Chen Xiangnan was gone, he would have to worry about the heavy responsibility of being the security manager. The two deputy managers under him could not handle the overall situation. At the same time, he did not trust them. Not to mention, he would not consider inviting them from outside. So he had to find someone he could trust. He intended to train Qin Sheng. Naturally, he had to find two confidants for Qin Sheng. He felt that Chang Baji was good, so he sent someone to investigate about Chang Baji. The result was very satisfactory, so he looked for Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng and Jiang Xianbang chatted again and again, but Qing did not care about these trivial things. She only cared about eating. She ate very elegantly, unlike Qin Sheng who did not care about his image. She chewed slowly as if she was tasting a work of art. Occasionally, she would look up at Qin Sheng and be lost in thought for a few seconds. Qin Sheng was stunned for a few seconds before he came back to his senses and said, "Poaching? Hey, what are you talking about? How is it poaching? Isn't it finding a partner for you?" Jiang Xianbang put down his chopsticks and laughed, with an expression that said, "I am such a person in your eyes." Qin Sheng held a chicken leg in his hand and said while eating, "Don't you know why I went through so much trouble to get help from Xi'an? Now that Han Bing's crisis has not been completely resolved, I can't take this risk. Besides, Brother Chang and I are friends, not superior and subordinate. Even if you want to invite him, it depends on whether he is willing or not." Zhou Wenwu and Zhao Dongxing are done for. I've pleaded for you with Third Master Wu. Who would dare to make things difficult for Han Bing now? If you're really worried, then fine. Today, I'll spread the word that Han Bing is my adopted daughter-in-law. If anyone dares to touch her, then he'll be making things difficult for me, Jiang Xianbang. Although I, Jiang Xianbang, am not powerful in the Yangtze River Delta, I still have some influence in the circle of the Bund. Han Guoping's old enemies really don't dare to provoke me. Is that okay? Jiang Xianbang subconsciously prepared to smoke the cigarette but was glared at by Qing Er. He smiled bitterly and had to put it down. Qing Er served him another bowl of soup. Upon hearing this, Qin Shing said without hesitation, F***CKU. As soon as he said this, he regretted it. After all, Qing Er was still sitting next to him. No matter how familiar he was with Jiang Xianbang, he had to be wary of Qing Er's existence. After all, Qing Er was not so familiar to him that she did not care about anything. Sure enough, Qing Er's face changed instantly and she stared at Qin Shing angrily. Qin Shing smiled awkwardly and said, I'm sorry, I'm used to it. Jiang Xianbang burst into laughter when he saw Qin Shing's defeated look. However, Qin Shing was so angry that he had no way to vent his anger. Look at you, you're not willing to suffer any losses. This can't do. Don't you want Han Bing to be safe and sound? Besides, this is just an excuse. You're not really going to marry Han Bing, are you? Jiang Xianbang explained with a smile. Qin Shing calmed down and thought about it. After Zhou Wenwu and Zhao Dongxing died, Third Master Wu's side was settled by Jiang Xianbang. As long as Jiang Xianbang said this again, it was estimated that no one would dare to touch Han Bing. The most important thing was that Guoping Group had gone bankrupt and was restructured. All the forces were in it. Han Bing had no right to speak. Who would be so bored to vent their anger on a woman? Besides, with Hao Lei's protection, Chang Baji was really a bit of a talent to crack a nut. He might have some grievances. If he came to Shangshan Ruoshui, he would have a strong ally. Let me think about it. I'll talk to Brother Chang first and see what he thinks. If he is willing, I have no opinion. If he is not willing, then there's nothing I can do. Qin Shing finally chose to retreat and acquiesced to Jiang Xianbang's suggestion. Jiang Xianbang said happily, Don't worry, I won't treat Chang Baji badly. I'll treat him the same as Chen Xiangyang. Besides, you know very well what kind of people I'm in contact with. For him, this may just be a springboard. What do you think? Qin Shing did not deny this. Okay, I'll go back and talk to him. Qin Shing nodded silently. Everything had been settled. Jiang Xianbang was in a good mood. He picked up the bowl and drank the soup. I'll wait for your news. After lunch, Jiang Xianbang packed his things and prepared to go to Beijing for a few days. He spent most of his time outside every year. The closer it was to the end of the year, the busier he became. Qing Er was preparing to go to school. There were 2 more classes in the afternoon. Qin Shing and Qing Er went out together. He took a taxi. Qing Er had a white Mercedes CLS. This was not bought by Jiang Xianbang, but she earned it with her own ability. Out of politeness, Qing Er asked Qin Shing, Do you need a ride? Qing Er was just being polite. Qin Shing did not stand on ceremony and said, Okay, I'll go to Shangshan Ruoshui. Qing Er was stunned and did not know whether to laugh or cry. This man really did not treat her as an outsider. Since she had already asked, she could only send Qin Shing to Shangshan Ruoshui. I heard from Uncle Jiang that you are a teacher at the Shanghai Music Academy? Qing Er did not speak on the way. Qin Shing could only find a topic to ease the relationship. Who asked him to leave a bad impression in the eyes of a beauty? Qing Er nodded casually. What do you teach? Qin Shing continued to ask. Department of Folk Music, Guzheng. Qing Er still said indifferently. Qin Shing smiled bitterly and said, That's pretty good. If there's a chance, I'll listen to you play a song. I'm very interested in this. My grandfather used to play Eru and Guzheng when he was free. Occasionally, he would hum a few lines of Peking opera and Qin opera. Qin Shing said a lot, but Qing played it down with an O, which made Qin Shing very frustrated. But there was nothing he could do. Who asked him to make this beauty unhappy again and again? Seeing that Qing was not interested, Qin Shing did not think too much. He did not want to chase after her. At most, he just wanted to look at her. There was no need to take her too seriously. Women should not be spoiled. Beautiful women were spoiled by men. Did they really think that all the men in the world should revolve around them? Middle Huaihai Road was not far from Shongshan Ruoshui, so it did not take long to arrive. After the car stopped, Qin Shing deliberately did not get off and stared at Qing for a few seconds. Qing slightly frowned and said, "What's wrong? I don't seem to owe you money." "It should be, we had an ill-fated relationship in our previous lives," Qin Shing said thoughtfully. Before Qing came back to her senses, Qin Shing had already got off the car and left. Qing muttered, "Psycho," and then drove away. Qin Shing was preparing to go back to Shongshan Ruoshui to rest for a while, and then start the afternoon work. A member wanted to invite a few friends. Mizan had already appointed Liu Yuan and Qin Shing to be responsible for it. When he just arrived at the gate of Shongshan Ruoshui, suddenly a man came out from behind the tree and kicked Qin Shing's waist. Qin Shing was talking to Jiang Xianbang, and did not pay attention at all. He was directly kicked to the ground. Because it had just rained, Qin Shing was stained with mud and water. At this moment, he was extremely embarrassed. "Damn it, you little bastard, how dare you snitch on me? Do you really think that I'm a pushover? Don't be fooled by the fact that I've left Shongshan Ruoshui. If I want to deal with you, it's a piece of cake." A man walked out with an extremely ugly expression and said to Qin Shing, who was on the ground. Being attacked, Qin Shing looked angry and looked back at the man who attacked him. It was Chen Xiangyang. He squinted his eyes and slowly climbed up. He sneered and said, "It turns out to be a stray dog kicked away by Shongshan Ruoshui. Only you can do this kind of sneak attack. I really overestimated you before." It was Chen Xiangyang who attacked Qin Shing. He was fired by Jiang Xianbang and thought that the person who told him the secret was Qin Shing. So he came to Qin Shing to settle accounts with him in anger, but he was alone. "You don't deserve to scold me, bastard. Today is a lesson. You can rest assured that this thing is not over. I will play with you slowly," Chen Xiangyang said fiercely. If it was an ordinary person, he might be afraid of Chen Xiangyang. But what had Qin Shing not seen? Did this kind of person deserve to make him afraid? "If I were you, I would not come back to find me, and I would not say these nonsense. After a period of time, find a way to follow me for a period of time. Find a dark and windy night and directly kill me with a knife. That is the best way to vent your anger. Most people like you are useless. You dare to say but dare not to do it." Qin Shing was not angry but laughed and said. Qin Shing's reaction made Chen Xiangyang nervous. Obviously, ordinary people would not be so shocked. He did not want to be entangled with Qin Shing here. He scolded, "You don't need to care about me. Anyway, you better be careful." After that, Chen Xiangyang planned to leave. After all, this was the door of Shongshan Ruoshui. Even if he wanted to do something, he had to consider the consequences. Want to leave after a sneak attack? Are you playing? Qin Shing shouted at Chen Xiangyang, imitating Song Xiaobao's tone. Chen Xiangyang squinted at Qin Shing and said, "What, you little bastard, what else do you want?" "Little bastard?" Qin Shing gritted his teeth and said, "Then you try, who is the little bastard?" Before the voice fell, Qin Shing had already rushed up. He hated being attacked from behind the most. If he did not fight back, he would really think that he was useless. Qin Shing held his strength and fell from the sky to Chen Xiangyang. Chen Xiangyang's skills were absolutely powerful in the past. However, after being poisoned, he had been completely useless. What's more, his body was drained by wine and women. If he did not exercise for a long time, he would not be a tough opponent like Qin Sheng. But a skinny camel still had some weight. So he hurriedly took 2 steps back. Qin Sheng's foot fell in front of him, directly smashing the blue bricks on the ground and stirring up a splash of water. It could be seen that the strength of this foot was strong. Then Qin Sheng hit Chen Xiangnan's chest with his elbow. Chen Xiangnan's feet were not stable, and he faced another wave of impact from Qin Sheng. He had to hold Qin Sheng's elbow with both hands. Who would have thought that Qin Sheng's strength was too strong, and it directly hit his chest. He was about to fight back. Qin Sheng's right leg, which landed on the ground, had become a knee attack to his side waist. This speed really made him unable to keep up, let alone escape. In the next second, Qin Sheng's knee had hit his side waist. He, who was as thin as firewood, was directly knocked out and fell heavily into the water on the side of the road. Compared with Qin Sheng, he was more embarrassed. "You dare to deal with me? Then you can try, I will never let you down," Qin Sheng said coldly. Chapter 58. Interesting bookstore. Since 2012, when I stayed in Chengdu for more than half a year, I would go to Chengdu every year. This was also the reason why I wrote about Chengdu. I really liked this city. I had originally planned to go to Chengdu after the new year. After Zhao Lei's Chengdu caught fire, I wanted to go even more, but my body had collapsed. Of course, there are other reasons as well. The second reason is that I like Zhao Lei. I love him from the bottom of my heart. In 2009, I listened to Zhao Lei with him. His first song was Southern Girl. Later on, I would sing this song every time I went to KTV. Of course, there are other reasons as well. The second reason is the song about my dreams. As I get older, I am getting further and further away from what I wanted to do in the beginning. I often get caught up in contradictions. I need to take this time to recuperate and think about what I should do in the future. Actually, I am just like all of you. I am just an ordinary person who often gets caught up in contradictions. I am troubled by all sorts of trivial matters. Recently, I just want to recuperate, read more books, and work hard to stabilize my updates. Qin Sheng's knee strike directly made Chen Xiangyang lie in the puddle, and unable to get up. Qin Sheng did not use all his strength, otherwise, a few of his ribs would have been broken. Qin Sheng left just like that. Chen Xiangyang stared at Qin Sheng's back, as if he had not come back to his senses. He did not expect that an ordinary receptionist would actually have such amazing skills. Even he was not a match for him. Perhaps only when he was at his peak could he suppress Qin Sheng. It was a pity that his body had long collapsed. He wanted to vent his anger, but he was humiliated instead. Chen Xiangyang's gaze was extremely sinister. He felt that everyone was forcing him, that the whole world was bullying him. Since they did not let him have an easy time, he would not let them have an easy time either. When the security guard at the door saw this scene, he was stunned and did not dare to come out to stop them. After all, Chen Xiangyang used to be their boss and treated them quite well. However, it was not right for him to find trouble with Qin Sheng. After all, everyone knew that he was involved. He would have to leave sooner or later because of drugs and gambling. In the monitoring room, when the person in charge saw this scene, he immediately contacted Su Lanqing and told him what was going on. Su Lanqing hurriedly ran to the monitoring room. At this time, it was already over. Qin Sheng had just returned to the changing room to change his clothes. "Replay," Su Lanqing said with a gloomy face. He could easily guess that Chen Xiangyang must have thought that Qin Sheng was the one who told on him and that Qin Sheng had taken the blame for no reason. Poor kid. The security guard in charge of monitoring immediately replayed the scene just now. At first, Su Lanqing's face was gloomy, but in the end, his eyes lit up. Especially after Qin Shing defeated Chen Xiangyang without any hesitation, he was really surprised. He did not expect Qin Shing's skills to be so powerful. Although Chen Xiangyang's body had collapsed, he still had some skills. It was definitely no problem for him to deal with ordinary characters. Su Lanqing finally understood why Jiang Xianbang arranged for Qin Shing to enter Shangshan Ruoshui. If nothing went wrong, Qin Shing might take over his position in the future. Then what should he do at that time? Thinking of this, Su Lanqing smiled. He was really worrying for nothing. The big boss would definitely make arrangements. Moreover, he had made a lot of connections here. Many people offered high prices to poach him. It was only because of the big boss's appreciation that he stayed in Shangshan Ruoshui. Otherwise, he would have changed places long ago. I don't want others to know about this, Su Lanqing said to the security guards in the monitoring room after watching the replay. After returning to his office, Su Lanqing did not dare to hide it. He was afraid that if he did not say it, the big boss would know and punish him. So he quickly called the big boss. At this time, Jiang Xianbang was on the way to the airport. He received a call from Su Lanqing because he wanted to ask about the new security manager. He whispered, "Old Su, what's the matter?" Su Lanqing truthfully reported the scene that had just happened to Jiang Xianbang. After listening, Jiang Xianbang fell into deep thought and did not speak for a long time. Su Lanqing waited with fear. After a while, Jiang Xianbang said slowly, "This Chen Xiangyang is really bold. Does he think that I am a vegetarian?" "Mr. Jiang, what should I do?" Su Lanqing asked cautiously. Although Jiang Xianbang and Qin Shing usually laughed and quarreled without scruples, in the eyes of Su Lanqing and the others, Jiang Xianbang was ruthless. The most important thing was that he had too many connections. Otherwise, if he asked for leniency, would Third Master Wu give him face? Since he dared to do this, he may do other things. After so many years in Shangshan Ruoshui, he knows too many things that he should not know. So let him close his eyes in case he hurts too many people, Jiang Xianbang said lightly. In this way, Chen Xiangyang's fate was decided. Su Lanqing's face changed slightly, but he did not dare to ask for leniency. He just said, "Okay, I will inform them to do it." "Well, tell me when you are done. Don't have any accidents. I am hanging up." Jiang Xianbang nodded. He had been involved in a lot of bloodshed. He had long-term partners, but he never showed up. Su Lanqing was responsible for everything. Chen Xiangyang certainly did not know that from the moment he looked for Qin Shing, the ending was already doomed. Jiang Xianbang would never allow anyone to threaten him or Qin Shing, not to mention a small role like Chen Xiangyang. Qin Shing got off work late today. The member who had a banquet did not leave until 8 o'clock. Because Mizan specially asked Liu Yuan and Qin Shing to be responsible for it, Qin Shing could only be busy. But to his surprise, when he returned to the new home of Shilin Huayuan, Hao Lei and Chang Baji had not come back yet. So Qin Shing called them and asked what was going on. Hao Lei said that there was a banquet in Guoping Group tonight. The creditors and investors of Guoping Group were all there. Han Bing, who was still a shareholder of Guoping Group in the future, naturally had to attend, so the two of them had to work overtime. After hanging up the phone, Qin Shing had nothing to do, so he wandered around the neighborhood. After all, this would be the place where he would live in the future. He wanted to familiarize himself with the surrounding environment, such as where there was a supermarket, where there was a vegetable market, where there was a place to eat and drink, and where there was a big health care and bath center. Of course, this was a joke. Qin Shing did not like this kind of thing. After walking around for an hour, there was everything that should be around. After all, this was a bustling downtown area. However, Qin Shing found an interesting bookstore on the roadside. There were no magazines or bestsellers in the bookstore. All kinds of books were published at least 2 years ago. There were many kinds of books, but most of them were about humanities, history, and philosophy. The bookstore was not big, and there was only one male cashier and 2 female clerks. Qin Xing knew that this bookstore must be losing money. He did not know whether the boss was stupid or something, or he had some feelings. After all, many things nowadays depended on feelings. When Qin Xing went in, the cashier smiled at him politely. 2 young female clerks shouted, "Welcome! Sir, what kind of books do you want to buy? I can recommend some to you." The younger female clerk asked politely. She made Qin Xing feel a kind of book fragrance, but he did not know whether it was because of the environment. Whether it was shopping or buying things, Qin Xing did not like waiters to disturb him, so he politely refused. "Thank you, I will look at it myself first." "Well, you can call me if you need anything," the female clerk said with a smile, and then left to do her own thing. Therefore, Qin Xing began to look around the whole bookstore. The decoration was very old-fashioned, but it felt good. Unlike the modern bookstores that were bright and beautiful like high-end shopping malls, there were books everywhere. There were a lot of books on the ground, and many of them were old books. Qin Xing guessed that this bookstore also received books, but there were no decorations. There were a lot of small stools, obviously for people to stay and read. Humanities, history, and philosophy accounted for most of the books, followed by finance, technology, nature, medicine, and so on. Qin Xing walked around for about half an hour, looking through each category in detail. In the end, Qin Xing chose a history book, Wanli 15th Year, a finance book, The Big Short, and a philosophy book, The Social Contract Theory. These 3 books had a big gap. Therefore, when it was time to pay, the slightly younger female clerk stared at Qin Xing. Qin Xing could not help but ask, "What's wrong?" The female clerk was cute. She laughed and said, "You read a lot of books." "A lot of things, but not good, so I can achieve nothing," Qin Xing said half-jokingly. The female clerk pouted and said, "Nonsense, I think people who like to read will succeed sooner or later. What is success? So what if you succeed? Most righteous people are dog butchers, most heartless people are scholars," Qin Xing said with a little sigh. The female clerk said disapprovingly, "How old are you? You talk like an uncle in his 40s or 50s. People should live more optimistically so that they can be happy." "Xiao Lu." The cashier stared at the female clerk and shouted. Then he smiled at Qin Xing and said, 50 yuan in total. "So cheap?" Qin Xing was very surprised. 3 books only cost 50 yuan. Alas, the publishing industry is getting harder and harder. No wonder so many people are willing to spend tens of thousands of yuan on eating and entertainment, but are unwilling to spend tens of yuan to buy a book. This is an era of fragmented information, how sad. The female clerk called Xiaolu replied, "Because 2 of your books are old, so it is cheap. We are different from other bookstores here." "Can you make money? I'm really afraid that the next time I come, you will all be closed," Qin Xing said casually. After saying that, he felt that it was inappropriate. Xiaolu stared at Qin Xing and said, "You really have a crow's mouth. Can't you say something nice? Really, our boss is very rich. You can rest assured that unless our boss goes bankrupt, it is impossible for our bookstore to close." No wonder. With such an explanation, Qin Xing understood. It seemed that there was a story, otherwise, who could afford to pay for it. After giving the money and taking the books, Qin Xing said thank you and then left. Not long after he returned to Shilin Huiyuan, Chang Baji and Hao Lei came back, but they dragged Han Bing along. Because Han Bing drank too much tonight, no one took care of her. Chang Baji and Hao Lei could only drag her here on their own. There was no other way. Han Bing naturally had to face these things alone since Han Guoping was not around. Chapter 59. Turning, Hao Lei had gone to take a shower. Qin Sheng was going to talk about this, but he did not say it directly, but looked for an opportunity in a euphemistic way. Alas, she was so drunk that she became a pool of mud. You didn't stop her and let her drink like this? Qin Sheng said helplessly. Chang Baji poured a glass of water, shrugged his shoulders, and smiled bitterly. If we could stop her, we would have done it long ago. She didn't allow us to help her, nor did she let others drink for her. She just drank like crazy. What can we do? This silly woman. Qin Sheng did not know what she was thinking. Anyway, she was the only one who was suffering from drinking like this. Qin Sheng handed a cigarette to Chang Baji and said thoughtfully, "Brother Chang, you must be very bored these days. It's a bit unfair for you to protect a little girl." "What's wrong with that? I don't like what you said. I have a lot of fun. You don't know that there are so many beautiful women in Bingbing's design company. When I'm bored, I flirt with those beautiful women. It's a different kind of fun," Chang Baji said happily. He really did not feel bored. When he had nothing to do, he would wander around Lojiazui or Sinan Mansion, or chat with those beautiful women to kill time. People always find fun for themselves. Qin Sheng was speechless, but he really admired Chang Baji. This uncle's skill in flirting with girls was very good. No matter how beautiful they were, as long as they were women, he could make them happy. But his appearance was not so good. If he was more handsome, he would really be a woman killer. Qin Sheng felt that he was really gifted. If he had 30% of his skills, he would have been super amazing. "I can only say that I admire you." Qin Sheng gave a thumbs up. Chang Baji laughed cheekily. Speaking of beautiful women, Qin Sheng had a topic to talk about. He smiled and said, "Speaking of beautiful women, I'm not bragging. The place where I work now is full of beautiful women. They are tall and have outstanding temperament. All of them are highly educated college students. Do you want to go there?" "I want to go there, but you are not the boss. Can you let me go there?" When it came to beautiful women, Chang Baji's eyes lit up. Qin Sheng said slowly, "You don't say there is really a chance. Our Shangshan Ruoshui's security minister resigned 2 days ago. This position is very important. The boss is choosing a candidate. Didn't you do this job before? I recommended you. Do you want to give it a try?" Upon hearing Qin Sheng's words, Chang Baji pointed at Qin Sheng and smiled playfully as he said, "Boy, you have so many tricks now. You've even dug a trap for me. Be honest, I don't think it's that simple." Shangshan Ruoshui is a top-notch membership club in the Bund. The members there are all rich and respectable. The big boss, Jiang Xianbang, and I have some connections. He also helped me with the Han family's matter before. That's why I went there. His security minister was fired, so he wants to find a new one. I recommended you. Are you interested? Chang Baji smiled bitterly and said, "You saw through me. Then I'll tell you the truth. Shangshan Ruoshui is a top-notch membership club in the Bund." Qin Sheng told the whole story half truthfully and half falsely. "What about Bing Bing? Can Hao Lei handle it alone?" Chang Baji did not rush to give an answer. He first considered Han Bing's safety. Qin Sheng replied, "I know you will definitely ask about this. Don't worry, it has been solved. No one will touch Han Bing in the future. Hao Lei alone is enough. Actually, I don't know if this is the right thing to do. After all, Brother Chang, you only came to Shanghai to help me. You didn't say that you want to stay in Shanghai. Moreover, you have lived in Xi'an for so many years. Everything is in Xi'an. I just want to ask for your opinion first." Qin Sheng said quickly, leaving some leeway for himself. Chang Baji shook his head as he smoked. "Shanghai is much more interesting than Xi'an. Xi'an is too boring. I have been ascetic for so many years. It's time to enjoy the colorful world of Shanghai. So I have decided to stay in Shanghai." "Really? Brother Chang, have you really decided?" Qin Sheng was a little surprised, but he was more surprised. Chang Baji nodded slowly and said, "How can I lie to you? Moreover, I am familiar with you and I can't bear to leave. But as for what you said, I can't promise you yet. I have my principles. I have to judge people. I can go, but you have to let me meet the boss first. If I approve of him, then I will go. If I don't, then let's forget about it. Chang Baji was telling the truth. He was not short of money. He just wanted to live comfortably. After listening to Chang Baji's words, Qin Xing could understand. This was Chang Baji's style. Although Chang Baji did not agree immediately, there was still a chance. So he replied, "Okay, old Jiang went to Beijing these 2 days. When he comes back, you sit down and have a chat. You can make the decision in the end." "Okay," Chang Baji said casually. He did not take it seriously at all. At this time, Hao Lei also finished showering. Chang Baji was ready to wash up and go to bed. Before he left, he stared at Qin Xing's bedroom and did not forget to mock him. "If you want to do something, now is the best time. Every minute of the night is worth 1,000 gold. We will not eavesdrop." In an instant, Qin Xing's heart was racing. Still not sleeping? As soon as Chang Baji left, Hao Lei came out and showed a charming smile. Qin Xing stared at him and said, "Let's sleep together tonight? I am not gay. You really have a good fortune, but you do not enjoy it. It is intolerable." Hao Lei wiped his hair and sighed. Qin Xing scolded, "Damn, I will sleep on the sofa, maid." After saying this, Qin Xing went back to the bedroom and prepared to take out a blanket. He would make do on the sofa tonight. Anyway, the weather was not very cold. He estimated that by the end of the month, he would start to bear the magic damage of the southern winter. Qin Xing had experienced it during his 4 years in university. In the bedroom, Han Bing, who was originally covered with the quilt, had kicked the quilt away. She was wearing an evening gown that slightly exposed her breasts. At this time, it also revealed her slender white legs. Qin Xing even saw something with black lace. He quickly silently said, "See no evil, see no evil." He covered Han Bing with the quilt again, and poured a glass of water at the bedside. Only then did Qin Xing go out with the blanket and make do on the sofa for the night. The next day, before Qin Xing woke up, Han Bing had already gotten up. She woke up because she was thirsty. Only then did she realize that she was in a strange environment. After all, she had only been to this new house twice. Han Bing was a little scared and panicked. She thought that she was drunk and something happened to her. She quickly lifted the quilt to check and found that the situation was not what she imagined. Only then did she let out a long sigh of relief. After coming back to her senses, Han Bing carefully looked around the room and finally remembered where she was. She did not know whether to laugh or cry. She knew that it must be Chang Baji and Hao Lei who pulled her back. After coming out of the master bedroom, Han Bing saw Qin Xing lying on the sofa. Qin Xing was chased to the sofa by her. She tiptoed closer to Qin Xing. Qin Xing's sleeping posture was very peaceful. Her footsteps were very weak. But when she walked in front of Qin Xing, who was very vigilant, was still surprised. He opened his eyes abruptly. Han Bing was so shocked that she cried out involuntarily and almost fell to the ground. "You scared me to death." Han Bing covered her chest and gasped. Qin Xing shook his head unhappily and said, "You're awake?" "Yes." Han Bing muttered softly, "I drank too much last night. Drink less in the future. Your health is important." Qin Xing slowly got up and stretched. Han Bing was like a child who had done something wrong. She bit her lower lip and said, "I know. I didn't do anything crazy last night, did I?" "No." "Then you didn't do anything to me, right?" "Psycho." Han Bing muttered, "Am I not charming at all? How can you go to work like this? I'll send you back to change your clothes first." Qin Xing said casually. He was really impressed by this silly woman. He did not know what was going on in her mind. Han Bing looked at her embarrassed appearance. She could only ask Qin Xing to send her back to take a shower and change her clothes. He would come back later. After all, it was only 6 o'clock. Back at Huarun 9-Mile Bund, Han Bing was at ease with Qin Shing. She took a shower in the bedroom while Qin Shing watched the news outside. After a while, Han Bing changed her clothes and came out. The weather was getting cold, so Han Bing changed her style. She wore high heels with simple straight pants, a plain sweater and a black coat, and a Hermes scarf around her neck. Qin Shing used to like women's long black hair. Second was when women tied up their hair. Who knew that after seeing Han Bing's shoulder-length hair, he felt that she was more and more beautiful. Is your wife beautiful? Feeling that Qin Shing was looking at her, Han Bing felt a sense of accomplishment and teased him. Qin Shing almost said beautiful, but stopped in time. He rolled his eyes and shouted, "Let's go. You must be hungry. Eat something and bring some breakfast for them." After eating and returning to Shilin Huayuan, Chang Baji and Hao Lei had just woken up. Seeing these two people coming in from outside, they were stunned. Hao Lei took a long time to react and said, "Did you two go to get a room last night?" "You're worth teaching," Chang Baji commented like an experienced driver. It seemed that Qin Shing really did not miss such an opportunity. He was indeed a man. He did the beauty Han just like that. Awesome. Han Bing blushed, while Qin Shing scolded, "What are you two thinking about every day?" After saying that, he threw the breakfast to Hao Lei and said, "Hurry up and eat breakfast." After that, scram. Chang Baji and Hao Lei both laughed out loud. Han Bing was like a little wife and did not say anything. After Han Bing and the others left, Qin Shing searched the nearby gyms and prepared to find time to apply for a membership. Recently, he was a little decadent and did not exercise properly. His physical fitness had declined. This was a dangerous signal for a man who relied on his body to make a living. After choosing a few gyms, Qin Shing planned to look at them one by one at night and choose a good environment. It was still early, so Qin Shing was reading in his room. He was prepared to go to a bigger bookstore one day and choose a batch of books to enrich himself. Reading was Qin Shing's greatest pleasure. No matter how busy or tired he would read. Back when he was in university, he often stayed in the library with Su Qin. After graduation, he traveled all over the country for more than 2 years. He always had 2 books in his bag. Even in the past few days, he would also find time to read. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.